Good morning. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. That would probably make me Glenn Clark. He's Griffin. Hope you had a good weekend. I actually had a day off. Like a day with nothing. Nothing. Went hiking yesterday with the kids. The bummer about that is I forgot to take Ezekiel Elliott out of my lineup, and I'm going to lose because of it. That's cool, but other than that, it was a great day. Had a lovely dinner with the Proctors, although I hear it didn't go so well for them. This is a very awkward bit. We went out last night, and then later in the evening, John Proctor's like, "Hey, how you guys feeling over there?" We're feeling great. We're feeling fine. Huh? Weird. Not us. Dicey. Now I'm paranoid about it. Now I feel like at any moment I'm gonna get like food poisoning is gonna set in. Like, hey, this will be in the middle of a conversation today with Jeff Pearlman. I'll be like, "So Jeff." Very paranoid about that.
Gotcha. So I should be on the lookout for that as well, I guess?
I don't think so. I feel fine.
Well, am I in the splash zone? I mean...
Oh, no.
Okay.
Wait over there. God. You're good. You're a weird bit. I don't know what to make of it. Not great. And I feel bad about it, but we had a great dinner, so... A lovely weekend. We have a lot to do on the program today. We're going to talk some Ravens. Jonas Shaffer from the Baltimore Sun. As I mentioned, Jeff Pearlman, one of the great American sports writers of modern times. His newest book is about one Bo Jackson. It's called The Last Folk Hero, The Life and Myth of Bo Jackson, and it is available right now. And I'm working my way through. I did jump around a little bit like I was in House of Pain. I did jump around slightly within this book, but it is a lengthy read. And by lengthy, I mean like 500 pages. So it's going to take me a while, but I have enjoyed it immensely. And the backstory, oh, you know what, I'll tell you when Jeff Pearlman joins us. It's a backstory of my actual involvement, which is extraordinarily minimal. I want to make that abundantly clear. Could not be less relevant, but it's cool for me. So we'll talk to Jeff Pearlman about that as well. It's also Monday, so of course, as he does every Monday, Jeremy Conn will check in with us. That's all coming up on the program today. I want to get in today. Oh, by the way, today's show is also brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. You will see it in action once again this Sunday. The Ravens return home, and you have the opportunity to go experience and sample the cooking from the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. If you stop by the Game Day Firehouse at the Firefighters Union Hall, 1202 Ridgely Street, just west of the stadium, not only can you sample the cooking, you can register to win your own Ginsu Kamado Grill, as well as $500 worth of grilling meats. As always, use the code TAILGATE at ginsugrills.com, and you'll save $100 when you order your own. The perfect ceramic home grill or tailgate for grilling, smoking, baking, searing, all kinds of food. ginsugrills.com. The code is TAILGATE to save $100. We're going to do first half pats on the ass and slaps to the helmet today. We're going to do both lists. So make sure when you tweet us at Glenn Clark Radio with your list, you identify which list is which. Right? I mean, I think we'll be able to tell. Like, I feel like if you put Justin Tucker on your list, we're not going to think that it's your slaps to the helmet. I think we'll be able to tell, but I would still go ahead and do it. So, again, it's for the totality of the first 9 games of the season. Both lists still have to play by pats on the ass and slaps to the helmet rules. They must include at least two offensive players, at least 2 defensive players. The fifth, as always, can be anyone you like. Another offensive player, another defensive player, special teams player, or a coach. As always, you will rank them from 5 to 1, with number 1 being your man of the half, or your Ravens MVP, or on the flip side, your anti-MVP. It's not hard. I believe in you. I know you can do it. Now, some of you decide to make it more difficult than it needs to be. I'll never understand that, but that is your choice. And that is the beautiful thing about this country is you have that option. You can screw it up if you'd like, but we're not going to share it. We're going to call you a cheater. That's the way that it goes. So cheater, pumpkin eater. So that's the very simple concept pats on the ass, slaps to the helmet for the entirety of the Ravens' first half of the season. Get us your lists at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. We will share them out. As far as a couple things that jump out at me, I had this moment this morning where the absurdity of how we treat league MVP jumped back out at me again. I knew it would be coming. I knew that after the Vikings beat the Bills yesterday, because I actually heard it. I'm trying to think of what I was listening to. I was listening to something on the radio after the game was over. A national show, I want to say, and the guys were on there like, well, maybe we need to start considering Kirk Cousins an MVP conversation. And as much as we snicker at that, we have to acknowledge the Vikings they have one loss. They just beat the Bills. Like, I understand the reason. And the secondary part of the reason is because we only allow quarterbacks to be considered for MVP. It's this hilarious bit that we do, and we've been doing for years, where we've just decided if you're not a quarterback, you don't get to be MVP. There's no way. And we justify it by saying things like, well, how could they be? How could anybody else? The quarterback is the most involved. No one is more involved with the football game than the quarterback is. So by definition of the word valuable, who could possibly be more valuable to a team than the quarterback is? It's reasonable, I guess. But as I pointed out that year with Stephon Diggs, it's also patently absurd. The first year that Stephon Diggs arrived in Buffalo, he should have been the MVP of the NFL because we all saw what the Bills were the year before, and then we saw what they were the year after. And there's one thing that changed. The arrival of Stephon Diggs. I would walk in. I would say, hey, did you guys watch the team last year? You guys see their numbers? You see their record? You see all those things? Okay. And you saw them this year, right? Yeah. Well, one thing changed. So where do I pick up my MVP trophy? We all watched the game yesterday. We all saw the same thing. Justin Jefferson won the football game. Justin Jefferson was by far the best player on the field. I understand that we are prone to hyperbole. I understand that we are prone to recency bias. But the people that are suggesting that's the greatest catch in NFL history, they might be right. It's hard. There have been a lot of great catches in NFL history. I don't know how many of them were greater. I don't know how many of them had the stakes that catch had. 4th and 18, game on the line against one of the best teams in football. I don't know that there is a better catch in the history of football than the one that Justin Jefferson made yesterday. But it's so far beyond that. It goes back to every conversation we ever have. My guy Cy was tweeting me about it yesterday. Really weird how this works. How we keep living in this fantasy world where the wide receiver position doesn't matter, despite the fact that literally every ounce of evidence we have couldn't scream it any louder at us.
He made 9 catches yesterday. Next gen stats.
I saw
that. Yeah, he made 9 catches with under 50% catch.
I'm sure he shouldn't be the MVP. I'm sure we should just, again, thoughtlessly, brainlessly continue to say it's the quarterback and not consider the impact of that. Not consider how having wide receivers has drastically changed Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. On the flip side, how not having wide receivers has drastically changed Justin Herbert with the Chargers. It's insane. We're the dumbest people alive when it comes to talking about wide receivers. It's so insanely important, and yet we keep doing this. Now, I get it. I think most of us in Baltimore are very disappointed by the fact that the Baltimore Ravens have continuously failed to figure out how wide receiver works. And again, I don't know. Maybe they'll figure out a way to survive it this season. I can't see the future. It seems unlikely, but who knows? Maybe we'll get to the end of the year and we'll look up and they'll have ran their way and one of these guys will have stepped up enough, and I don't know. If I was a betting man, they probably won't. But I can't say it's impossible. What do we learn from Kevin Garnett?
Impossible is nothing.
Look at you. Look at you picking up on an old bit. I'm in a weird place. I'm in a weird place because I just keep seeing it constantly. I keep constantly seeing the value of the wide receiver position and how drastically it changes everything. Everything. And then it's tough to come back to a place where they continue to seemingly devalue it. It's a rough feeling. And I mean it when I talk. I guess, by the way, I don't even know who the favorite is to be an NFL MVP at the moment. Like, I guess it's probably still Josh Allen. I assume that, even though he threw, the last 2 weeks have been rough with the red zone disasters, I still assume that he's probably the MVP favorite just because he's Josh Allen.
It is no longer Josh Allen.
It is no longer Josh Allen.
Yes.
It's flipped over to Mahomes.
Mm-hmm. Mahomes, and then Jalen Hurts, and then Josh Allen.
I guess you could say that because Mahomes has the least at wide receiver of those guys, that's why, he gets the nod. And, Patrick Mahomes, if he wins MVP, I'm not going to be mad about it. But it's unbelievable to me that we can't at least talk about someone who plays another position. The first non-quarterback that comes up on the list on FanDuel, Tyreek Hill, 75-1. There's a great argument for Tyreek Hill, by the way. He won't win it, but there's an argument for it. There might be a better argument for Justin Jefferson, who doesn't show up until 13th on the list at 100-1 odds.
Same odds as Daniel Jones.
Come on. No offense to Daniel Jones. He's played well. I'm not trying to trash Daniel Jones. He's been fine. But this is, I'm not. It's not FanDuel's fault. All they can do is reflect the way this works. It's the absurdity of how we refuse to consider the value of other positions and what it does. And I get it. Somebody's gonna say, "Well, what about the best linebacker?" It's fine. Have those conversations all you want. I'm not. This one is particularly hilarious because we have multiple layers of evidence of how much this position impacts everything, and yet we just don't want to talk about it. It was infuriating for me thinking about it, considering that. Otherwise, and also considering picks. Otherwise, a pretty decent day of sitting around watching football. A couple of overtime games. It was an entertaining day of football. I'm still not sure how good the football is. This game, for the most part, was very good. There was the disasters. We have to conclude the fact that the Vikings still needed an absolute miracle. If Josh Allen could just fall forward, the game's over. It's weird the way we discuss it. I'm not trying to say that results don't matter. Results matter, and they matter in particular for how you set up for the postseason. But the results don't really I understand the Vikings won the game on the road. I'm not certain that I can tell you that I think the Vikings are better than the Bills. Aaron Schatz tweeted about. Can you pull up Aaron Schatz's Twitter, because he tweeted about this, that even the post-game win expectancy, which is always interesting to me because it was why it was the Football Outsiders, despite the fact that the Ravens were 3-3 a few weeks ago, still had the Ravens as being the third best team in the league. And we were all like, really? What is that? And the way he attempted to explain it is, independent of the results, the actual things that occurred in the game, who did we expect won the football game? You have the tweet?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
So after the game, 98.6% post-game win expectancy.
What was it? Say it again.
98.6.
98.6.
So based on the splits of the game, they expect Buffalo to win over 98% of the time in that situation with those stats.
And that's probably about right. That's the reality. Now I get it. You don't go back and change it. You don't go back and say, well, because of that, credit Buffalo with the win instead of Minnesota. That's not how football works. It's not how anything works. That's not how any of this works. But it matters. It does matter in how we look at a team. A couple people trying to come for Josh Allen yesterday. Look, I'll tell you what. If the Bills want to go ahead and ship Josh Allen off, I think literally just about everybody else in the NFL would be happy to have him. I mean, my God. You're doing the bit where nobody's good. If anybody ever makes a mistake, they're not good. Trust me, it was a bad interception. It was terrible. I mean, I have no idea what he thought he saw. It was wretched. A wretched interception. But come on, man. What are we doing? It was a lovely day. Lovely day of watching football. Had a lovely... I think everybody who went to Navy Notre Dame was probably entertained. I think that it was a bummer that Navy fell behind by so much that ultimately even a stirring comeback in the second half. I'm right about Navy today, by the way, at PressBoxOnline.com. Even a stirring second-half comeback could not, save them, was not quite enough. I'm glad there was major college football being played in Baltimore. I want more of those. I know we do have a future Army-Navy game on the slate for Baltimore. I like it. It's neat when in a city that doesn't really embrace college football, which is a sport that I love, it was just neat that it felt like college football mattered for a day in Baltimore. And that's a selfish thing. I get it. It's an esoteric thing. It's irrelevant. But it was just a neat feeling that people cared about college football in some sort of way. And it was neat that, it ended up being kind of a thriller when it was all said and done, as Navy made a stirring comeback but ultimately fell short. Nothing thrilling about Maryland on Saturday. I'm not really fully prepared to have a big picture conversation yet about Maryland. I need to go ahead and let these last couple of weeks play out. I said before the year that I thought that taking the next step with them being competitive or more competitive in these games against some of the monsters in the league. Now, of course, they beat Michigan State, but Michigan State's not one of the monsters of the league this year. They were very competitive against Michigan. That's one game. And then they got skull-dragged in back-to-back weeks by Wisconsin and Penn State. They were non-competitive whatsoever. If that continues next week against Ohio State, I don't know what to say. Like, the most practical scenario for Maryland football is they get blown out by Ohio State next week. By the way, I need you this Saturday. Just a quick plug. Our friend A.J. Francis, who you know from Jobbing Out, former Terp, Anne Arundel County native, long time in the NFL. Now he is a WWE wrestler, is known as Top Dollar as part of Hit Row on Friday Night SmackDown. And we've been doing this now, I guess, I didn't realize it's been 6 years. 6 years that we've been doing a canned food drive for AJ and the Francis Sports Academy. And we're doing it again this Saturday at the Maryland-Ohio State game. I get it. It's the wind's out of the sails a little bit for Maryland football, but you want to come down, see one of the best teams in the country, and see if Maryland, once upon a time, nearly shocked Ohio State a few years back. We need you to bring your non-perishable food items with you to the game. Need you to. So I'll be there collecting. I don't know which gate I'll be at. AJ will be there collecting. You want to meet one of the stars of WWE, you got a kid in your family who's a huge wrestling fan, you're going to have the opportunity to meet Top Dollar from WWE on Saturday before the game. We need you to bring your non-perishables to benefit Sarah's house at Fort Meade this Saturday to the Maryland-Ohio State game. Please come join us. And I'm just not there yet. I don't have a deep thought to have. I get there. When the season's over, I'm going to have more of an ability to reflect on all of it. I promise. But I'm just not there yet with Maryland football. Not quite. I promise I'll get there. Just not fully sure how I feel about it at the moment. I do know, again, this Saturday, very important. 6th annual AJ Francis canned food drive. Come down. Your boy will be freezing. Of course, it will be miserable. Did I see snow in the forecast at one point this week? Of course, it's going to be miserable.
I think they've been saying that. Yeah.
God.
I don't know when, but
Layer up. Bring out your non-perishable food items this Saturday. I'll be there with AJ Francis. We'll be collecting your non-perishables for Sarah's house. Please come down to the Maryland-Ohio State game. Even if you say, Glenn, I don't need to witness a slaughter, I'm good, just stop by beforehand. Maybe enjoy a nice tailgate. Go home afterwards. I understand. The more important part is we need your non-perishable food items to help out Sarah's house. So please come down as AJ and I and his family. We will be collecting them on Saturday at the Maryland-Ohio State game. All right, let's switch gears. Let's talk a little Ravens coming out of the bye. Joining us now, one of our favorites. He, of course, Baltimore Ravens beat writer for the Baltimore Sun. He is our buddy, Mr. Jonas Shaffer, and he's with us now here on GCR. Jonas, what's going on, pal? How are you?
Good morning, man. How's it going?
Everything's all right. You able to do anything? You get away at all?
No, I just slept a lot, watched some Dairy Girls, normal.
Wait. Are you a big Dairy Girls guy? Is that
Love Dairy Girls.
I didn't know that. All right, sell me on Dairy Girls. I've never watched.
I'm interested in the time period, which I think is cool, and it's just good dialogue, great characters, easy to binge. I cried in the first season finale, cried in the second season finale, and I'm working my way through the third and final season right now.
Okay.
So I'm excited to see just how many tears I'm going to shed.
All right. I can't. There's a small part of me that thought at first you might be doing shtick, but I think you're actually selling me on this. That like you legitimately.
No. It's a very, very funny show.
All right, I am willing to give a look-see. I'm willing to take a look. All right, I'm going to ask you the question that I've been trying to figure out an answer to, and I know there's no actual answer to it, right? But I just want to have a discussion. The Ravens play really well over the last 6 quarters. The last 2 games, they have dominated time of possession, over 38 minutes average between these last 2 games against the Buccaneers and Saints. They've gotten back to what I think we thought their identity is supposed to be when you have a Greg Roman offense. The question eternally is the same thing. Is this good enough to beat the best teams in the AFC as you get to the end of the season and into the postseason?
I don't know. I don't know, man. I think there's potential there, but again, without Rashad Bateman, there are a lot of questions. I think that's obvious. It's just, you look around the league, you look around football in general, you see that it is indeed possible to be a juggernaut offensively with, not a whole lot wide receiver. Georgia won the national title last year without a whole lot of wide receiver. George Pickens hardly played for them. They're rolling right now despite not having much beyond Lad McConkey and a couple of stud tight ends, which is, of course, kind of similar to what the Ravens have there. But they also have
they have a 40-year-old quarterback.
Best defense.
That helps. It helps when you can pull a guy in who's 37 to play quarterback.
Right, and they also just have a defense that's elite, and we think the Ravens can get there, but we don't know. So, again, you go into the playoffs, and I think we're all assuming that the Ravens are going to get there. Probably with, a top 4 seed, and it just becomes about, matchups and what kind of, how many times the ball will bounce your way. And obviously that hasn't happened. The Ravens, in the Ravens' favor the past couple of years. It happened against Tennessee, but even that was kind of a struggle. So it's going to be interesting to see just what changes they think they need to make. It's going to be interesting to see, if they made anything too gradual and anything too grand in terms of just the scope of their offense. I doubt we'll have to see it this weekend because they, I think, are favored by 13 points against Carolina. So why bother showing your hand in any kind of way against a terrible, terrible team like that? But yeah, I definitely have serious questions about what this passing offense can look like with, a wide receiver 2.5 masquerading as your wide receiver 1.
I feel like this is it's also part of the conversation, to your point. Like this question that we're asking, we're not even going to be able to get the answer until they actually get to the end of the season because the schedule doesn't shape up for them to play anyone that can be sort of a measuring stick between now and then. We'll see what Cleveland is when they get Deshaun Watson on the field. I don't know what to make of that, but It really is, and this is the NFL. You never know what goofy things might happen in the NFL. We got to say all those things, but it doesn't shape up that there's going to be a game between now and then that's even going to give us a better feel for, okay, if they can do this against insert team name here, then maybe they really can do this when they get to the postseason.
Yeah, I think I would push back on that a little bit, only because there are going to be individual tests or schematic tests or group tests that I think are useful bellwethers. Like, obviously Denver, having lost Bradley Chubb, is not the same defense that it was before the trade deadline, but still that defense, I think, entered week 10 with like the best or the second best defense in the NFL if you just look at DVOA. So that is a useful barometer, I think, for what this passing offense can be. Obviously, it's going to still come a long, long way from the postseason, and I don't know how many secondaries in the final, let's say, month of the regular season are going to be a useful, again, barometer for what they might face in the postseason. But there are still going to be some teams here and there just based on their talent or based on certain positional groups or certain schemes that would be useful for the Ravens, even if, let's say the Ravens are double-digit favorites in like 6 of the final 8 games coming up.
That's fair. That is fair. Look, I get that. I still don't know, even if they perform well in those games, it's going to give us extraordinary confidence that they say, well, they can definitely do this against, the Chiefs. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I still think that'll be tough to translate. Jonas Shaffer is with us. You said something in there, Jonas, that I'm struggling with too, which is I think that what we saw defensively as part of this dominance in the last 2 games is maybe them moving towards being a really dominant unit. There's also the part of me that says, hey, but it was the Buccaneers and the Saints, and I know the Buccaneers have certainly played much better over the last game and drive of their season. I'm still not sure yet what to make of. Do you independently say, ignore this, you're overreacting to 2 games against lesser opponents, or do you say, hey, look, the totality of what was already a strong secondary that's still slated to get Marcus Williams back, now Justin Houston playing out of his mind, one of the best stories in the NFL, and the addition of Roquan Smith, they really do have a chance to become a truly dominant type of defense.
Yeah, I just think that we need, for as much as we talked about how talented the secondary is, the first half of the season left a lot of room for improvement. After that Saints game, just had some time in the airport, just kind of killing some hours waiting for my flight by just looking at how they are doing on, pretty much every kind of imaginable big picture structure. So, looked at their EPA per dropback, against man coverage, against zone coverage, against single high cells, 2 high cells, basically seeing what this defense is good at in pass defense. And they were not terrible at any one thing, but they were not good at anything. So, they didn't do a whole lot with single high stuff, despite being, having Marcus Williams in there for a good amount of time. I think a lot of this is skewed by the Miami game, but still, it's not something that you can just throw out entirely. They've struggled with, quarters coverage. They've struggled with cover 2. They've struggled with, when they try to blitz players, quarterbacks. They struggle when they haven't tried to blitz quarterbacks. And, a lot of that is just Marcus Peters not being the kind of Pro Bowl level form that we saw before he tore his ACL last year. A lot of it is Pepe Williams getting picked on routinely, and the Ravens, maybe not until recently, with the emergence of Carl Hamilton having an answer for that nickel spot. We've seen some tackling issues. We've seen, a surprising thing is that they are kind of as bad as they are as bad against deep shots as they are against kind of screen passes, which is not a recipe for success. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL at giving up some of these big plays. But, if you have a pass rush that's a markedly better unit than it was to start the season, then that's going to cover up a lot of holes. We've seen the Chiefs, for instance, not have great secondaries over the past couple of years, but able to make it work because, Frank Clark is revved up, Chris Jones is revved up. They get creative with their play calling and stuff like that. So I think the Ravens are in line for some positive regression there in the secondary, especially if and when Marcus Peters, gets some time off to get healthy, and maybe that was the bye week. And obviously, Marcus Williams coming back would be a big help, even though I don't think there's a huge room for improvement over Geno Stone, who's really playing extremely well right now. But it doesn't hurt to have the depth there. And I think, again, this bye week will be an opportunity for the coaching staff to see what they can do better and try to work that out over these next couple of weeks.
Can you explain the Justin Houston thing? Like, can you? It's so unbelievable to me. If it weren't for Geno Smith, it might be the best story in football all season.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just him being able to be in the right place at the right time, and that's going to sound like a slight, but it isn't. He's just, they set up a lot of stuff, with these pass rush games for him, and he's able to do a great job of it. I mean, if you go back and watch his sack montage against New Orleans, one of it was just, one of the sacks is Patrick Queen beating the Saints for right guard, and Justin Houston being there to clean him up. Another one is Patrick Queen, again, mowing, just throwing himself into the Saints left guard, who Justin Houston is kind of tepidly working against, and that freeing up Justin Houston to go and get Andy Dalton. And then I think that the final one was obviously him meeting Calais Campbell at the quarterback on what was probably his best pass rush of the night. And so it's a little bit ironic that his best pass rush only gets recorded with half a sack because Calais Campbell meets him there at the same time. But he is a guy who is, I think very flexible. He can beat left tackles off the edge with speed and power rushes. But we've also seen this, in recent weeks and last year that they're able to line him up over left guards and right guards. And I think we'll probably continue to see that with them getting more and more of these talented pass rushers back, and just be flexible with how they use him. And, if you have someone as strong and as quick and as technically sound as Justin Houston, it's a lot easier to beat these interior linemen than it is to beat an offensive tackle. So it's really incredible. He obviously came in incredible shape, and this pass rush is markedly better with him on the field than without.
Oh, there's no question about that. It's been unbelievable. Let me phrase this one this way, Jonas. You mentioned Marcus Peters and if he can rest up and what he might look like, but can you give me another player or two that you think their second half could be particularly significant in determining what the Ravens are, when they get to the postseason? Someone who still has room to grow or play better, or maybe who's played over their heads, like one or two other players who maybe are pivotal, could be swing players, their performance, as far as what this team is capable of achieving the rest of the way.
That's a good question. I guess I would say maybe Morgan Moses, just as part of the larger framework. I think he's like top 10 in pass block win rate at this point on ESPN, and we've seen him be a menace on some of these polls. But I think just him being part of the larger picture of this offensive line, taking that step into elite status, I think the really interesting thing to look for going forward is just, can this offense be good when they don't have to have 6 or 7 pass protectors in on every drop back? And obviously it's not every drop back that they rely on that kind of protection, but if you remember, Glenn, back in 2019, the most devastating part of that offense wasn't that just they could mow people over when they got into 12 personnel or 21 personnel or 13 personnel or just all these heavy fullback, tight end heavy formations, but when they spread things out, either because they wanted to change a pace or because they had to because it was 3rd and 8, they were the best offense in the league.
Yeah.
And right now they are very, very clearly not. I think, this is another thing I looked up after that New Orleans game. I think Lamar with 5 eligible receivers, which is obviously the most that you can send out into the mix, was like, in the 23rd to 24th range in the NFL. And it's kind of surprising, again, because of how effective he is as a scrambler and just how good the protection has been for much of the season. So that's another candidate for positive regression. Even though the Ravens don't have a superhuman amount of receiver talent there to maybe make things easier for Lamar, they also didn't in 2019. And maybe even if some of that was situational with the Ravens getting, 3rd and 3s, and we're going to spread you out, you'd expect that with the rushing offense being what it is, they get those similarly kind of favorable matchups. So I'm curious to see just, if the Ravens can trust this offensive line to hold up with all the pass rush games, with all the, big bad dudes on the schedule coming up. Then I think that's going to be a huge part of this offense going forward, because we know that Ronnie Stanley is already back to his all-pro form. We feel pretty good about Tyler Linderbaum, ramping things up, even though he's had some struggles over the middle. So I think Morgan Moses is going to be a huge part of this offense after what was like a frustrating early couple of weeks, I think, for him.
I think it's really well said. For some reason, James Prochet's name jumps out to me as maybe we'll start and wrap with wide receiver.
Yeah,
right?
I've kind of given up on all hope for him there.
Man, I understand it. And so maybe the better point is like, what more could DeMarcus Robinson offer? Like maybe that's the better. I just feel like if there's anyone that it still feels like there's talent there, and should be opportunity that could change things, that would be the guy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. We've seen him have this route running skill, and we've seen him get open as recently as training camp. And, I think the Ravens are going to continue to see a lot of man-to-man coverage when Lamar's back there, because that way you can blitz them. That way you don't have to worry too much about, guys finding the soft spots in zone, like a Mark Andrews who just does that so well. So it would help to have a route technician like James Prochet who can, shake off bigger, faster cornerbacks. But just the production beyond a catch or two every game just hasn't been there.
I completely understand. I understand why you sort of say at some point it's just not going to happen. At Jonas_Shaffer is how you follow him. Of course, the Baltimore Sun, BaltimoreSun.com to see all of his stuff. Is there anything I can plug for you other than the newest season of Dairy Girls?
I think I'm good, Glenn. Obviously, I'm happy that you're encouraging people to.
I'm gonna watch.
Go to Maryland football games. No. I'm happy that you're encouraging people to go to Maryland football games.
Dude, I don't know that I'm gonna stick around for the game.
It was not long ago that Mr. Tyrell Pigrome almost left Ohio State in College Park, right?
Jonas, I'm not swearing that I'm sticking around for the game on Saturday. Yeah. It's bad, man.
It's gonna be a lot of red there. It's gonna be a lot of Ohio State.
It's gonna be a lot of that. It's what it is. But please support AJ and his canned food drive. He's a good man doing good things. All right, buddy. Appreciate you as always, my friend. Thank you. We'll talk again soon. All right.
Thanks, Glenn. Take care, bud.
Jonas Shaffer from the Baltimore Sun checking in with us here on GCR. All right. Hey, I've been trying to tell you for a while, but online sports betting is starting in Maryland. And by the way, news today, they've bumped up the date for the meeting a couple of days. It might be here before Thanksgiving, which is next week. It's coming. And PressBox is your source for the best offers and sign-up incentives. Starting now, you can get $300 in pre-registration credit plus other incentives by going to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Just go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers right now to get $300 worth of pre-registration bonus credits. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. When we come back in, we are going to recap the weekend in picks, and we'll begin with our first half slaps. We'll do that first. Not as in, dude, that first half slapped. All right, it's Glenn Clark Radio. Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with PressBox and Great H Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests. And of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 15th at Mother's North Grill in Timonium. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Glory Days Grill's Oktoberfest menu is now running. It's one of their most popular seasonal menus all year. It features the chicken schnitzel, the Oktoberfest brewer's platter, the brewer's sausage sandwich, the Bavarian burger with a pretzel bun, the cheddar ale soup, the slam dunk pretzels, and the apple cobbler. All of these meals pair well with Oktoberfest beers and Angry Orchard on draft. Dine in or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and pick up your favorites to take home. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
Check out Jeremy Conn's daily picks at PressBoxOnline.com as he tries to find you daily winners. And speaking of winners, here's a man who once won a media curling contest. And I don't think anything else. He's Glenn Clark.
It's the holiday season.
Holiday season.
Not bad, Griffin. I like it when you play along. It is the holiday season. If you're looking for a simple holiday meal, then try Chick-fil-A catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options, sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details. Let's talk about picks. I don't want to. By the way, in most weeks this season, going 4-5 would be great. Not this week. Not this week. Picks Recap is brought to you, or just a reminder that Stan the Fan Charles, actually big show, Stan the Fan Charles and Ross Grimsley coming up a little bit later on today are going to be joined by Dan Duquette. Perhaps you've heard of him. 6 o'clock tonight, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. You can check out Stan, Ross, and Dan Duquette. Probably getting Dan's ideas about what the Orioles should do this offseason. Be interesting to hear what he has to say. You'll want to be tuned in tonight at 6 at Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. All right, picks recap for the weekend. Again, this one was unique as we had our normal 7 that are in on the contest. We also had Drew Forrester and John and Little Rock competing. However, I don't have them on the chart in front of me, so I'm just going to have to tell you about them a little bit later on. So I'm going to tell you how everybody on the chart did in our season-long contest.
I can have it open if you want.
Okay, you can do that. Okay. All right. Navy Notre Dame. Credit to Kyle Ottenheimer. He was a good American. He went with Navy on Veterans Day weekend. I believe John did as well, correct?
Yes, he did. John, and so did Drew.
And Drew did as well. Drew had a good week, actually.
He did.
Drew had a really good week. So, yeah, they were all victorious. Navy, it was looking hairy. Very hairy, as it was 35-13, but they outscored Notre Dame 19-0 in the second half to cut it back to 35-32, so they all get that point. No idea what was going on with the line in Texas TCU. Texas is an abomination. They didn't score an offensive touchdown. An abomination. As they lost 17-10 to TCU, who remains undefeated and has a path to the college football playoff. Myself and Andrew Stecca were on Texas. I was only on Texas because of the line, because I just thought Vegas had to know something. As it turns out, no, they didn't. Texas stinks again. I believe John Little Rock was also on.
He had Texas, and then Drew had TCU. The Little Rock lock also did not hit. He said the Little Rock lock was over 64.5.
missed by a lot.
Missed by about probably
What the hell's
another
going on there,
another
John?
8 quarters, I guess.
All right. Penn State, Maryland. Griffin was trying to inspire himself or inspire Maryland. It was bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
Andrew Stetka was also on Maryland.
So was John in Little Rock.
Yuck all around. 30-0. Just a disaster. NFL games. Tampa Bay maybe becoming a thing again. They defeat the Seahawks 21-16 over in Munich. It's so hard to figure out the impact of where the game is being played. So I'm not ready to just say that Tampa's fine. But for a few drives, they look really sharp. They look really good. They looked like more of the team that we expected them to be coming into the season. We'll see.
Yeah, as long as they didn't have Leonard Fournette throwing passes.
Yeah, that not smart. Not something that I would do. They almost deserved to lose because of that. Like everything was working for them, and then they were like, "Well, let's see about Tom Brady lining up out wide." Get the F out of here with that.
Thought we had a chance for a second.
Yeah, I did too. Unfortunately, did not work out. Only Paul Valley. It's a recurring theme. Paul Valley's been hot recently.
Yeah. John in Little Rock was on the Bucks.
John in Little Rock was on the Bucks. Kyle Ottenheimer had a massive week. Was also on the Bucks. Minnesota Buffalo. We were all on the Vikings for the most part, and we were all about to be losers. All they had to do was fall forward, and they couldn't do it. By the way, great in response to what I said about Justin Jefferson earlier today, our friend Josh Charles checked in this morning, said Justin Jefferson can win everything after that performance. Everything. Emmy, Golden Globe, Grammy, and Oscars. SAG Award, too. Give him the EGOT. Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Anyway, yeah, only Andrew Stetka was on Buffalo.
So were Drew and John.
They were both on Buffalo.
Yes.
Oh, my. You had to double-check the math. I'm pretty sure John also finished with 4. I'm pretty sure he's
you're
also
right.
a loser.
I'm
Double-check that at the end.
Pretty sure you're right.
So, yeah, we all get that point except for them. Cleveland, Miami, Griffin and Kyle Ottenheimer took a chance on Cleveland. Did not work out.
Horrible.
Not even
Horrible.
close. Not close. Dolphins not only handled the 3.5, they cruised to a 39-17 victory over the Browns. 1 point off, by the way. This is what I'm a co-loser by 1 point. 1 point. Oh, you picked. Never mind. You picked Jacksonville too.
Yes.
So we would have both still
Yes.
been co-losers. Damn it. Yeah, Jacksonville.
Nearly.
So close.
Nearly did it.
So close. As the line was 9.5. They lose by 10, 27-17 to the Chiefs. Griffin steals one. Was it a true lone wolf, or did either of the other guys also pick
Drew
Green
was
Bay?
also on the
Drew
Packers.
was also on the Packers. What did Drew go, 7-2?
I think he had 6. Yeah,
Damn,
either 6
man.
or 7. He got.
Unbelievable.
What did he get wrong?
He
He got
doesn't
the
know
Bills
anything-
wrong.
He doesn't know
He got
anything
the
about
Seahawks
sports.
wrong. He doesn't know anything.
How in the world? It's unbelievable. Yeah, Green Bay in overtime. They rally from. When we were at dinner last night. John was updating me. He was like, "Yeah, as long as Dallas, because they were up by 14 at that point. I had the game on. He's like, as long as Dallas doesn't yak this up, you're good." I was like, "Hell yeah!" And then I keep looking over. I'm like, "Whoa, no."
I needed it. I needed it bad.
Well, I mean, you still lost too.
I mean,
like,
yeah,
you
but
still have to, you're just.
at least now I get to.
It's just a misery loves company situation.
Exactly,
You
yeah.
still lost. Green Bay, they won in overtime, and so not only do they cover, but they get the outright win, 31-28. And then, what a spectacular cover from the Chargers last night. So many opportunities to blow that. Oh, my God. San Francisco gets the gift of that not being called a touchback, and the Chargers are pinned back at their 1, and I'm like, oh, no. I've seen this movie before. They got to go for it on 4th down. They fail. They still have all their timeouts, so San Francisco's just going to score the touchdown, and it's all going to be over. Blessings be that Kyle Shanahan chose not to go for it on 4th down. Because I'm convinced that would have been converted. Ultimately, the Chargers, they do steal a cover. They lose 22-16, but they get a cover. Myself, Griffin, Proctor, and KO were all on that.
As well as John in Little Rock.
As
So he
was
had
John.
4. So that was.
Yeah, John went 4-5. Drew went whatever he went,
6-3.
6-3. Big week for Kyle Ottenheimer, 7-2. Big
Wow.
week for John Proctor, 6-3. Good week for Paul Valley at 4-5. 5-4. Terrible week for Andrew Stetka, who has essentially clinched at this point. I'll get to it. Andrew Stetka went 1-8.
Ooh.
Problem is Andrew Stetka was not in on our bet. So he lives in Phoenix. Myself, Griffin, Ken Zales, John and Little Rock all go 4-5. We were all in on the bet. We were all losers. Now, John from Little Rock messages me before he knew he had lost and said, I can't make it in on Tuesday. So John is going to have to pay his penalty on his own somewhere. He'll be dancing on his own like he was a Philadelphia Philly. So we're going to hold him to it. He also, remember, voluntarily has paid other penalties this season. He voluntarily ate a Richard Petty sandwich. He involuntarily ate the St. Patrick's Day mess that we had in here last week. So I do believe that John will be a man of his word, and he will actually eat the chili and cinnamon roll. But tomorrow, you and I and KZ, you got to double check, follow up with KZ to make sure he's good for tomorrow. Are you good for providing enough cinnamon rolls and chili for all of us to do this?
Yeah. I was gonna get some the Pillsbury.
I
cinnamon
don't care
rolls.
how you make it. Whatever.
Okay.
I don't. Not my
Chili is
concern.
made. The chili is made.
The chili is already prepared.
Yes.
Your
Yes, it is.
Your neighbor just.
Yeah.
I need to know more about this dynamic, man.
I don't know if it's a she. Her name's Gwen. She's great. She's a great
she
cook.
Seems lovely.
Yeah, she's a great cook.
And you can just walk over and put it in a chili order, and
Yeah.
she just says, "Yeah, Griffin, I got you."
I could probably put in orders for other things too.
What the hell is going on there?
We're just really close family friends.
That's very weird. All right, well,
Works out.
let's
Works out that
hope.
she makes good chili too.
So we will have that tomorrow. If you got to double check with Ken. If for some reason Ken can't do tomorrow, needs to do another day, then let's all try to do it on the same day. Let's not have you and I, and then let's double check and re-coordinate with Ken.
It would be great to see Ken do it by himself.
I understand that, but he said he could come in on Tuesday.
All right, I will.
So double check and reconfirm that he is available to come in tomorrow to pay the penance, and we will all. It's more bread than I've consumed in a long time. I don't like anything about that. All right, for the season now, I'm still in tie for first. No one is 500. We all have losing records. Myself and Paul Valley are now tied.
making the jump.
Unbelievable run from Paul. We're now tied atop the table at 46 and 47. KZ is a game back where John Proctor has risen up to tie him. Just a game back at 45 and 48. What a pathetic season this is. Kyle goes from being...
It's normally like a lot better.
It's not normally a lot better, but there's normally at least one or two people that are doing well.
It's crazy how
It's awful. Kyle went from Vice Worm to being just 3 games back as he's sitting at 43 and 50. Griffin is now the Vice Worm. But he's okay. He has nothing to worry about. Griffin is 42 and 51, 4 games back of first place, but also Vice Worm. However, Andrew Stecca is 8 games clear of Griffin. It is a disaster. This man is going to have to fly across the country for the 3rd time in his life to do something truly terrible. He looks like he's going to be the one. 34 and 59. How, Sway?
Still a lot of season left.
If you say so. If you say so. Oh, God, it's brutal.
I got to make sure I don't get complacent over here.
Don't do that. All right, that's where we are picks-wise. Let's quickly go over slaps. Our first half of the season, slaps to the helmet, are brought to you by Guilford Hall Brewery, 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North. An amazing place. Incredible Bavarian-inspired menu, delicious beers, craft beer selection, including the lovely Guilford Hall Lager. Also, always events going on, Yappy Hour, live music, trivia, all sorts of things. Find out more, guilfordhall.com. Truly a gem in our city. Again, for the entirety of the first half. And also bear in mind, it is important because it's going to pop up with number 5. My number 5, I do feel like is trending in the right direction. But still, as I look at the first half of the season and whose struggles were significant, I can't ignore Kyle Hamilton on the list. I like where Kyle Hamilton is. I like where he's going. I think Kyle Hamilton is becoming more of the player that the Ravens thought they were getting. But when you draft someone that high, the expectation is they come on the field and they make an impact very quickly. And it just took a little while for Kyle Hamilton to get there. So I don't think Kyle Hamilton will end up on my end-of-season slaps list, but for now, Kyle Hamilton's on the list. He's number 5.
I was kind of struggling, at least offensively, trying to find guys. So I went with Rashad Bateman as my number 5. I mean, I know now he's done, but I still think like he just wasn't really being as dynamic, I think, as we expect him or need him
Okay.
to be when he was healthy. I think he still had some drops, and now now he just can't stay on the field. So I have Rashad Bateman as my 5.
Okay.
And then I did have Kyle Hamilton as my number 4
Okay.
as well. Same reasons. I think he is taking strides in the last couple of weeks, but still he was almost a liability early on in the season. He wasn't even they weren't putting him on the field just because of they didn't trust him.
Yeah, correct. My number 4 is James Prochet. And I get it. You could say, well, he hasn't had the opportunity to. They needed James Prochet to be a football player. And at this point, there's no reason for us to think that James Prochet is a football player. I hope that changes. We were just talking about it with Jonas a minute ago. I hope he's a player that has something coming in the second half of the season. But right now, James Prochet is a nothing, and they needed him to be something. So he's my number 4.
Got it. Hamilton was my 4, so
Right.
I'll
go ahead and do my number 3 then.
Okay.
My number 3 is Adafe Owe. I don't even think he's played poorly necessarily. I just think, again, they needed a different type of impact from Adafe Owe than what they're getting. Thankfully, they're getting it from Justin Houston. But I just think they needed more of an impact. They needed more kind of game-changing plays to be made by Adafe Owe based on where they selected him, the opportunity cost that comes with that. They didn't need a good football player. They needed a game changer, and he just hasn't proven to be a game changer. He's my number 3.
My number 3, J.K. Dobbins. Similar thing. Again, I was struggling with trying to pick out offensive guys because I think the offense has largely been pretty solid. But so I went with J.K. Dobbins. Again, obviously health is an issue, but when he's been on the field, he just hasn't been, Kenyon Drake has been far better than him when he's on the field.
I don't know. He's on the field for so little. I don't know how to make
3.5 yards per carry when he's getting the ball. I wasn't a fan of, drafting a running back that high in the draft when you could have addressed edge rusher or even just taken another corner, I guess. So I was never a fan of the pick overall, and I don't think he's really, he hasn't been playing up to it either. So J.K. Dobbins is my 3.
My number 2, and file it away because it's going to come up again. My number 2 is Lamar Jackson. That is among offensive players. I think Lamar Jackson has been great, but I think in the moments where you define why it is, but what's the difference between 6-3 and 9-0? I think some of those moments reflect on Lamar Jackson and throws that were there to be made and the disaster of how the Giants game unfolded. That can't happen. You can't take that sack and lose the football there. I think Lamar Jackson has been, for the most part, wonderful. But this is the burden of being the quarterback. The good and bad, everything falls on you. So in trying to figure out the story of them being 6-3, I think Lamar Jackson and the times where he hasn't been willing to check down and some of the throws that have just been a little bit off after the first few weeks of the first few weeks of the season, he was the MVP of the league. And then from there, he's been good with some bad mixed in. So given the burden of being the quarterback, he's my number 2.
My number 2 was Adafe Owe. Same thing. He's just an underwhelming first half. You expect him to make, be an impact player, a game changer when he's a first-round edge rusher, and he just hasn't shown that. Hopefully, reinforcements help him, give him, I guess, less to deal with coming off the edge. But underwhelming, disappointing. I think first half from Adafe Owe, and then my number 1 was Lamar Jackson.
See that? I can't believe you left this guy off your list. I can't believe Marcus Peters isn't on your list.
Really? For slaps?
Oh my God, Marcus Peters, outside of a couple tackles, has been brutal. It has been a brutal 9-game stretch for Marcus Peters.
He's your number 1.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's not even,
I have not seen that.
It's not even close.
Wow.
He's made a couple of tackles that were in the backfield, like on that Sunday night game. That was nice. Outside of that, tell me what Marcus Peters has done. Marcus Peters has been doing a lot of the old Ed Reed going off and kind of I don't know, free forming. What do you call that? Just sort of doing his own thing.
Ball hawking?
Not even like doing his own thing, and it's been a mess. I don't know I don't know how to describe it. It's been a mess with Marcus Peters this season.
I don't feel that way. I feel, I think he could definitely be better, but I think there's been bigger problems in the secondary than Marcus Peters. I think he shows up, and I think he does what he needs to do. I haven't had that much of an issue with Marcus Peters this season.
Okay.
But yeah, Lamar my number 1. You look at the 3 losses. If he picks up maybe one more first down in each of those games, Ravens could very well be undefeated. So Lamar Jackson, my number 1, but also they could be 0-9 without him. So it's a tough spot for Lamar.
Okay. All right. I'm blown away by the Marcus Peters thing. Continue to get me your lists. At Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter is the way to get them in. We will continue to discuss them throughout the show. Can we take a break, or do we need to call Jeff Pearlman now?
Good question.
Okay. Well, then go ahead and call. If you don't know, then go ahead and call him. Continue to get me your responses and your slaps list. We'll get the Pats a little bit later on in the program for the first half of the Ravens season. Today's show is also brought to you by Glory Days Grill, where they have $6.99 apps every night of the week after 9 p.m., including the unbelievable smoky thigh wings. Oh, God. Smoky thigh wings are incredible. If you have not tried them, you're an insane person. GloryDaysGrill.com is the website for you to get your order in. Again, GloryDaysGrill.com. And the seasonal menu, the Oktoberfest menu, still available for another week or two. Before that will go away as well at Glory Days Grill. All right, so I'm going to tell you a short, very quick story. About, I don't want to say a year ago, I was on Twitter, and I saw our next guest tweet out randomly, "Does anyone know how I can get in touch with Joe Orsulak?" Now, I've been a fan of this man's work for some time. I have a very strict rule. If Jeff Pearlman writes a book, I read it. And I also, as you all know, happen to be friends with Joe Orsulak. And so I said, well, I don't know where this is going, but I'm willing to make this connection. And then when I found out where it was going, I said, oh, my God, I can't wait for this. That's, of course, because Jeff Pearlman was writing a book about Bo Jackson, not just a book, a definitive, unbelievable book about Bo Jackson. And Jeff very kindly said, you just earned yourself a spot in acknowledgments. And I said, all right, man. I don't need any of that. I just can't wait to read the book. Sure enough, as I've been diving through The Last Folk Hero, man of his word, Jeff Pearlman included my dumb name in the acknowledgments for this incredible book, which is maybe a career highlight for me. The book is The Last Folk Hero, The Life and Myth of Bo Jackson. He is the great Jeff Pearlman, and he is back with us now here on GCR. Jeff, it's Glenn. It's always great to catch up with you, sir. Thank you for taking the time for us, as always.
If that is a career highlight for you, I would suggest you re-examine your choice of profession.
Stop it. I am allowed to be a big Jeff Pearlman fan, and that does mean a great deal to me, sir. I really do appreciate that. Very kind of you. You did not need to do that.
Well, let me just say, I wanted to say that the Joe Orsulak piece of that book, not only was it hugely important, but when I've done, in the last few weeks of promoting this book, I mention Joe Orsulak all the time. So by extension, I'm mentioning you.
Thank you. You know what's funny about it too is I don't want to give everything away in the book, but the complete almost no sell from Joe Orsulak about the moment is incredible. And Joe and I, of all the things, we'd never talked about it. Him to be like, yeah, I didn't even realize that it was me as I was watching the highlight years later. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, for people who don't know, it's the famous clip of Bo Jackson climbing the wall that took place in Baltimore Memorial Stadium. And the guy who hit the ball was your friend Joe Orsulak. And when I reached out to him to ask him about it, I sort of expected him to be amazed and have details. And he didn't realize until 10 years later that he had hit the ball because that was the ball he hit because he put his head down and kind of looked at the first base coach. And by the time he looked up, Bo Jackson was just running with the ball.
And it almost speaks to the way that you set up the book. At the time, there's no Twitter, right? At the time, like highlights are not nearly as prevalent. He's not being reminded about it every moment of every day, the way that if it happened now. And this is it walks so well with The Last Folk Hero and everything you said to set up the book, which is it's just not the same today. These stories that we had about Bo Jackson and what he may or may not have done, we couldn't have it the same way in 2020. If somebody said, well, this kid, 14 years old, this is Bryce Harper at 14, hit a 500-foot home run. Well, we've got video now that either proves or disproves that of everything. We're filming everything that occurs. We can't have the stories the same way at this point.
I agree, and it's really kind of funny because a 500-foot home run being described either by someone telling a story of it or in a book, it sounds crazier than it looks, and it looks
That's
impressive. Like we've seen 500 home runs that are amazing to watch, but the retelling of it and the whoa and the no way and the holy cow,
Right.
like those things add to it all. So I'm with you 100%.
Your obsession with by the way, first of all, I can't, it's a lengthy book. I have made a real dent in the book, Jeff, and I did skip around a little bit, but I have not.
That's okay.
I promise you, I'm going to keep reading it because I was that excited to read it. I have not finished it yet. Your passion for this project is overwhelming. The story about the brick really speaks to how much you care about it. When, why, where, your interest in doing something this meaty about Bo Jackson?
I mean, in a way, organically, it starts when I'm a kid and I'm growing up in Mahopac, New York, and I have the famous Bo Jackson poster hanging on my wall, the ball player. And it's hard to explain to younger fans, I feel like, but like when I was growing up, there were singular athletes who became a part of a national discussion, and they almost represented the sport for that year. Like Bo and Herschel were iconic figures in national sports, and I was a kid growing up in New York, so those are deep South athletes, but they were iconic. They were on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and you'd see them playing these nationally televised games, and they were just gigantic. And there wasn't social media distracting our attention in a million ways. So that's when I first became aware of Bo. And when I was finishing my last book, which is about the Shaq Kobe Lakers, I just really, I love nostalgia. And I just kept thinking about how there has not been a definitive Bo Jackson book, how there's so much mystique about the guy, so much mystery about the guy. He came, he went, he vanished. It's not that much different than writing about a famous person who died young, like a JFK or a Tupac, where all of a sudden they came, they dominated, they did something huge, and they vanished. And he vanished because of injury, but he still vanished. So I thought that was really an interesting factor of it all.
Jeff Pearlman is with us here on GCR. Again, the book is The Last Folk Hero. We're going to link up to it on our Twitter account, @GlennClarkRadio. The way that you're talking about it feels like the subtext, and we'll get more into it, is there's a real chance that this was the greatest athlete of all time. And it's hard to be able to explain that, to your point, to someone who's young. They say, well, Deion played two sports. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Like, wouldn't that? It's hard to explain why it is that for so many people there is a real argument that Bo Jackson is the greatest athlete that ever lived.
Can I make my argument for you?
Sure.
Okay, here's what I tell people. All right, Bo Jackson's from Alabama, and he went to McAdory High School. And Bo Jackson set 5 individual state track and field records.
Right.
In high school, he stole 90 of 91 bases. He set a single-season national home run record with 20 in a season. He won the Alabama State Decathlon Championships as a junior and a senior. His senior year, he did it without ever taking off his sweatpants. He sprained his ankle midway through, was far enough ahead in the decathlon that he didn't have to run the final event, the 1500, which he hated doing. He was drafted in the second round by the New York Yankees. Probably would have been the first overall pick, except that they were afraid he was going to go to college. He shows up at Auburn, and he runs a 4.13 40. He wins the Heisman Trophy. He's the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. So he would have been the number 1 pick in the Major League Baseball draft out of high school. Then he's the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. He shows up with the Raiders after winning the Heisman and after playing Major League Baseball. He runs a 4.17 40 in pads on grass with the Raiders. And one more little thing is when he's with the Kansas City Royals, he makes his Major League debut, and his first hit, he beats out an infield single to second, and he clocks it at 3.6, which is the second fastest ever recorded time from home to first by a right-handed hitter. Like, what? Oh, and he could have been an Olympic sprinter. Sorry. And he did all this at 230 pounds. So, like, he was faster than Tyreek Hill, wearing pads, and he was 40 pounds heavier than Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, but other than all that.
Other than that, he sucks. Overrated.
Yeah, right. My God, when you put it that way. And by the way, what makes it all the more fascinating, as I was reading about the early years, is he didn't even like practicing. Like, he wasn't even trying to get better. He didn't like being in the weight room. Like,
Nope.
He was just insanely naturally gifted.
Yeah, he didn't like swimming. He didn't like weights. He would do that thing where, like, he'd be Auburn, they'd have weight days, and he'd be sitting in the weight room, and a coach might poke his head in, and all of a sudden Bo would lift a bar twice, and then the coach would leave, and he'd be like, okay, he's gone. I'm good. He one of his great motivators for playing baseball truly was he hated off-season football workouts, like hated with a passion. And baseball was a way he didn't have to do off-season football workouts.
That's so funny. That is so funny, man. It worked out okay for him.
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah, it worked out decently. Jeff, in writing about Bo's upbringing, clearly there's some unsavory stuff in there, right? Like, there's animal cruelty in there. I'm not gonna give away everything, but like, was it difficult in someone that obviously you're celebrating? Is it difficult to say, hey, we got to tell this part of the story? We got to make sure. Like, it feels like someone's going to read that and say, boy, I'm not sure that I love reading those things about Bo Jackson.
No, because I think you make a decision in this business that you're either writing biographies, like real biographies in the way there are biographies of whoever, Trump and Biden and Obama and Marilyn Monroe and whoever, or you're writing, odes and glorified, poems to our heroes, and they never do anything wrong, and they have no warts, and they never go to the bathroom. Like, I don't really believe in that. I think history is important, and I think Bo Jackson is a historic figure. And I've always maintained that when you learn about a person's flaws, it allows you to appreciate their accomplishments all the more. When you realize that Bo Jackson was one of 11 kids growing up in a 3-room, not 3-bedroom, a 3-room house with no running water in Bessemer, Alabama, and he had a single mom who worked 3 jobs, and his dad lived across town with his own family and had nothing to do with Bo. And the Bo was wearing his sister's hand-me-down shoes to school. And if those weren't available, he would literally walk to school in socks. And that he had a severe, severe stutter and was held back in elementary school. Like, knowing all those things adds to his legacy times 1,000. If I just told you, he had a great upbringing and his mom was lovely and he had a suburban blah, blah, blah. Like, overcoming everything is what makes the achievement all the more impressive. So I'm totally comfortable with writing about a person's life and who they really are.
That Bo, you mentioned Bo is not someone who likes to talk. I know it had to be disappointing that he wouldn't, involve himself in this project. But how do you handle that when you've committed to something and said, I'm doing this, whether or not you're going to be involved?
Well, so I knew going in the odds weren't great. He's very, very guarded, very, very guarded, and very prickly. And there are stories, there are definitely stories of him being rough to deal with. But I just, number one, I consider him, I really do, truly, it bothers me that people my kids' age have no idea about Bo Jackson.
Right.
It really bothers me. And I think it's important that they do. I think history matters even in sports. So I got really lucky with researching this. I reached out to Bo early on. He called me. He was very nice, but politely declined. But Bo had an autobiography come out in 1990 called Bo Knows Bo, and it was written with Dick Shepp, the legendary late journalist. And before Dick Shepp passed away, he donated all the notes, all the documentation, all the audio recordings of hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of interviews and sit-downs he did with Bo back in 1989 and 90. And it turns out all that stuff was available in the basement of the Auburn Library and had never been listened to since this came out. So I acquired the material. I would say 70 to 80% of the stuff never appeared in Bo Jackson's book.
Wow.
It was a treasure trove of stuff. I mean, an absolute treasure trove. And, kind of made it a little more seamless.
That's remarkable. Remarkable. And by the way, until you acknowledged that he hadn't, like in the first few times that you referenced him, I assumed that you had sat down with Bo, and I was like, oh wow, it's incredible how seamless it was that you're able to include all of that information in the book.
Right. Well, I did. I just want to say, to be clear, I didn't lie about anything.
No.
I did write the acknowledgement to the book about
yeah.
Okay, this is
100%. No. I do know that. I just, it was remarkable to me after I found that out because I'd already started reading the book. Jeff Pearlman with us here on GCR. Jeff, I asked this question. We've seen other high-level athletes. We've seen the Kyler Murrays of the world, right, who could have played either sport. Will this ever happen again? Will we ever see this, or is specialization at this point? There's just no way. Like, there's no way that we'll ever see an athlete compete at such a high level in multiple sports at the same time.
So this book has allowed me to be a spokesperson for one of my least favorite things in the world, or I guess against one of my least favorite things in the world, which is So I live out here in Southern California. I'm literally staring at the ocean as we speak, and I love it out here. But if you're a kid in Orange County, California, and you're 7 years old, and someone finds out you have a good arm, you're going to play your baseball season, and then they're going to say, let's say little Jimmy wants to play basketball. They're going to be like, little Jimmy, we should get you working with fill-in-the-blank instructor who charges $500 an hour. Maybe he pitched for AAA Walla Walla long ago, and we're gonna give you less. You should forget it. You should focus on baseball.
Yep, year-round.
And then we're gonna hook you up with this training facility. It's gonna be great. And the kid's having, he has a torn labrum at age 14, and like Bo Jackson. I wrote about Brett Favre in a biography. I wrote about Walter Payton in a biography. Those guys grew up beating the crap out of each other in Kill the Carrier, playing pickup hoops in their driveway, finding a field and playing, and that's how they developed as athletes. And we don't do that anymore at all. So I feel like the closest we have to Bo Jackson is Shohei Ohtani, who specializes in one sport but does it in a very unique way.
Sure.
It's very unlikely. It's very, very unlikely we'll have a Bo Jackson come along again, or a Deion Sanders.
It's sad. That makes me sad, man. My God, that was a time. What a time that was.
You know what? Can I tell you what? I'll tell you what bothers me the most, honestly, and this is as a parent. Like, we're robbing these kids of – you're only a kid from 0 to 18. That's it. And we're robbing these kids of some magical times in their life, all in the name of maybe one day my kid will get a cup of coffee in the major leagues. It sets an abuse of kids. It really bothers me.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. Like let them live. Like, let them have fun. I am completely in agreement. Jeff, before I let you go, I think I told you, as much as I loved Showtime, I truly enjoyed the show. Like, I thought the show was entertaining as hell. I thought it was wildly funny. My guy Delonte D'Souza is wonderful in it, a Baltimore native playing Michael Cooper. Did it bother you, any of the pushback, or were you able to say, dude, I don't care. This is objectively a good television program. You guys can be as mad as you want about it.
All right, so first of all, Delonte D'Souza, Baltimore's own, is one of my favorite people of all time.
He's awesome.
And he's one of my favorite. I love everything about him being in the show, and I'm not just saying that. My wife and I, we want to adopt the guy. Like, he's like so loving, so warm, such a nice guy, such a smart guy.
You know who his acting coach was?
I do not.
Prop Joe. Robert Shue from The Wire, Prop Joe, the legendary Prop Joe, was Delonte D'Souza's acting coach.
I did not know that.
That's awesome.
All right,
that's so
there you
cool.
Go. I just thought he was flipping houses like 2 years ago. Like, it's amazing, his story and his rise to play Michael Cooper. He's so good. But to answer your question, this is what I always say. HBO comes along and they say to you, we want to option your book. We want to pay you really good money. We want to turn it into a series. We want to have Sally Field and John C. Reilly star in it.
Right.
And then people come to me and they're like, so are you disappointed in the show? No, I am not disappointed in the show. First of all, the show is awesome. It's a great representation of the book. I'm aware of what it is. Like, when people are like, are there nuances in the characters, and are you upset? Like, it's not a documentary.
Right.
It is for entertainment. Like, they take leaps, as did Rudy, as did Friday Night Lights, as do all the sports entertainment. Like, it's weird for me at first. It was definitely weird for me because I'd never gone through this before. But it's been one of the greatest experiences of my life. So I'm totally thrilled with it.
And the product is so good. It's just such a wildly fun television program, man. Oh, it's so good.
I agree. Thank you.
As always, what's next?
I cannot say, but I will tell you. I can't say because I'm paranoid, but I will tell you it is Baltimore related.
Ooh. Well.
Maybe the Joe Ursulak story. Don't call me Joe. The Joe Ursulak story.
My man Slack. I love Slack. He's such a great dude, and he's so prototypical of guys of that era. Like, he's exactly what you would think that he would be.
He was also just really funny. He's like, yeah, I didn't even know I hit that. I was like, what?
Dude,
he's like, yeah, I didn't know.
It's so
That's
great.
awesome.
It's a great story. At Jeff Pearlman on Twitter. Again, the last folk hero, the life and myth of Bo Jackson. It is available right now. Jeff, always appreciate you, man. I truly enjoy the book. Thank you for taking the time for us, as always, sir.
Oh, thank you so much. Take care.
Jeff Pearlman checking in with us on GCR. I was a little treat for me. I said, man, I remember him I literally said it to Griffin the day I got the book. I'm like, Jeff told me he was going to put my name in the acknowledgments, but I mean, come on. Like, why would he do that? All I did was get him in touch. I think I got him in touch with somebody else. Maybe I got him in touch with Bill Ripken. Like, we tweeted back and forth for a little while. I like Jeff. I mean, Jeff's like one of the greatest American sports writers there is. And so I said, I'll help out. And I'm just going through the acknowledgments, and all of a sudden, oh, he's listing all these people. Megan Wilson is the Steve Grogan of Publicist. Tommy Brown of the Auburn University Library went above and beyond, as did James Huxtable, my Playboy stash provider, and Glenn Clark, Joe Orsulak Society CEO. I love that. I love that. I was so tickled by that. It was such a neat little moment. Incredible read. Really incredible read. And, again, people Griffin's age probably can't fully – like, they can be aware that Bo Jackson played multiple sports, but the cultural phenomenon that Bo Jackson was, it's impossible for someone of a younger age to understand how overwhelming the Bo Jackson phenomenon was. And then the arguments that he makes that Bo Jackson truly was the greatest athlete of all time they're relevant. They're relevant arguments.
He was just playing professional sports all year round.
He played baseball and
football.
football
I mean,
professionally.
Yeah, so
He didn't play
10 months of the year.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure, but I like, again, you could point out that Deion Sanders did the same thing. Deion Sanders famously, of course, played in an NFL game and dressed for a baseball game on the same day. He didn't play in that baseball game. It was a World Series game with the Braves. He did not get into the game, but dressed for both games, like was active for both games on the same day. And so you could say, okay, well, what makes Bo Jackson greater than Deion Sanders? And that's what Jeff Pearlman was trying to, just argue for when he talked about his accomplishments in the decathlon and track and field, and how. By the way, it's not just that he was, a hitter. When he was pitching in high school, he would routinely strike out 15 guys and throw one-hitters, and he didn't even want to pitch. He had no interest in pitching. He didn't want to do it. One of the stories that I enjoyed is they actually put him on the wrestling team at one point in high school, but it was only because they needed a heavyweight. They didn't have a heavyweight on the team, and they assumed that most other schools wouldn't have heavyweights either, so they just told him, you can be on the wrestling team because we're just going to take you around, and you're not going to have to wrestle.
Get wins.
Yeah, you're just going to show up. We're going to line up heavyweight. You're going to say, here I am, and then we're going to look at the other team, and they're not going to have one, and that's the way it's going to go. Great story. Go read the book. The book's unbelievable. All right, Jeremy Conn's going to join us here in a minute. We still got to get to our first half of the season. Pat's on the ass. A lot to do as we continue along on a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Looking for a simple holiday meal? Try Chick-fil-A catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, New Maryland basketball coach Kevin Willard sits down with Stan Charles and Glenn Clark to discuss the situation he inherited in College Park and how he plans to get the program turned around. Also, inside, we introduce you to men's and women's college basketball players from all of the teams in the area. And Bo Smoka profiles Ravens receiver Devin Duvernay. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
Join Glenn at halftime of every Ravens game for the Project Game Day halftime show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. We apologize in advance. There's not much we can do about his face.
Yeah, it's always so mean. All right, back in here on GCR. It is a Monday edition of the program. Today's show is also brought to you by, we've been flying along today, by the way. It's also brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. As we now know, we could be within days of the start of online sports betting here in Maryland. We've been saying weeks, but the answer at this point might very well be days. Meetings have been moved up. It's starting to look like it could happen in time for Thanksgiving. PressBox is your source for the best offers and sign-up incentives. Starting now, you can get $300 worth of pre-registration credit plus other incentives by going to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. It's now with multiple partners. What we're doing is we're compiling. So it's not just one particular betting house. It's various partners that we are working with to provide you the best offers for sign-up. And you're allowed to sign up for more than one. Like, there's no rule. They didn't legalize online sports betting to say, yes, but you have to pledge your fealty to one particular gambling establishment. That's not the case. You all right? Everything good over there?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. I hear it. What is the background noise?
I don't know. It's coming from my mic for some reason. Because when I mute my mic,
yeah, it's gone. Huh. That's interesting. I don't know what that's all about. I told you before, I think we've had our gains too open recently. I think we've needed to do more volume, less gain. I still think we're doing a little bit too much of that. But the problem with the gain is it picks up more of the room around us, whereas the volume is more direct. It's a whole thing. Anyway, the moral of the story is go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. You can get up to $300 in pre-registration bonus credits. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Jeremy Conn's going to join us in just a second. Tonight we will find out, by the way, the awards, I'm just going to go over the MLB awards schedule. It's relevant to folks in Baltimore for two reasons, and we'll talk about this in Totally Tubular. Tonight, Rookie of the Year will be handed out. I do not believe that Adley Rutschman will win Rookie of the Year. It's an honor just to be nominated. Tomorrow night, Manager of the Year will be handed out. I do not believe that Brandon Hyde will win Manager of the Year. It was asked of me again this weekend, are you surprised there hasn't been something more declarative in terms of the Orioles' commitment to Brandon Hyde? Fair question. Fair question. Surprised? I don't know. Do I expect there to be something more declarative? I don't know. That's sort of why I don't know if I'm surprised by it. I think they're in the same awkward position that we're in, which is this season was so wildly unexpected, but at the same time, are we certain that Brandon Hyde is definitely the guy that can lead a team to a World Series championship? And when is that point? If the Orioles if now, after they've had this season of relevance, they do end up spending some money, still to be determined. If they end up doing that this offseason, and next year they open up the season and they're 30-60, Brandon Hyde is going to be on the proverbial hot seat. It's a weird spot to be in. I think there are lots of reasons to like Brandon Hyde. I think there are people that have some questions still about Brandon Hyde. despite the fact that the Orioles vastly outperformed expectations this year. But Manager of the Year will be announced tomorrow night. And so I don't think Brandon Hyde is going to win. I think Scott Service will win. The Cy Young Awards will be announced on Wednesday, and then the MVP Awards will be announced on Thursday. Obviously, the Orioles will have nothing to do with either of those announcements all throughout the week, those announcements on MLB Network. But again, the ones that are relevant in Baltimore tonight, Rookie of the Year, tomorrow, Manager of the Year. And I do not expect that either Adley Rutschman or Brandon Hyde will win those awards. Although I know Brandon Hyde won the Sporting News Manager of the Year. Did you pull up the odds by chance?
Sure, I can.
Pull up the odds real quick. We're going to talk to Jeremy Conn. I don't think he's going to win Manager of the Year. I think it's a better chance than Adley Rutschman. I don't think there's any chance at all that Adley Rutschman's going to end up winning Rookie of the Year. But I guess there's a better chance of Brandon Hyde being Manager of the Year. I'm trying to pull him up as well. And of course, for some reason, I guess because the voting is known, they've pulled him down from FanDuel, so you can no longer bet on him.
So if you want to see what I saw from after the end of the season?
Quickly.
Now I got to pull up what awards we're talking about.
All right, never mind then. We tried. All right, Jeremy Conn joins us.
What? He's going to call us back in 2 seconds.
Oh, he's not there.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, you maybe should have mentioned that.
Sorry, I thought you saw me take the phone down. That's my fault.
My God. All right, well, if you can find it, then we'll share it, I guess. Here's the part of the show where you listen to us search on the internet. It's always one of my favorite parts of doing this is searching on the internet. That is compelling radio. Hang on. MLB Rookie of the Year odds. I'm trying to find him from anywhere.
I know. No one wants to show him.
Well, I get that everybody pulled him down. All right, for the record, Julio Rodriguez, according to this is VegasInsider.com, Julio Rodriguez was a minus 3,000 favorite to win AL Rookie of the Year. I thought that had been locked up some time ago. I think Adley Rutschman, it's amazing he got into the race given the circumstances, but I didn't think there was any chance of that whatsoever. Julio Rodriguez, an overwhelming favorite to win Rookie of the Year. And Manager of the Year, who is this coming to us from? No, this is just a list of candidates from SI.com. It's not actual odds. Why can't anybody
Nolan Arenado and then Aaron Judge look like they'll win the MVP.
Okay.
Both minus like a 10,000, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that is quite overwhelming. This is from JetBet. I'm not familiar with JetBet.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I don't know their work. I wholeheartedly. This is just the National League. The hell. All right, forget it. Forget it. I tried. I did my best. I tried. I can't tell you what the odds are. I think that there are better odds for Brandon Hyde to win Manager of the Year, but I don't think he's going to win it either. All right. Anyway, we get that announcement tonight. Can we squeeze in a break then before Jeremy calls? Let's squeeze in one more break because we are behind, and I apologize for that. Let's squeeze it. No, damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Going so well. Oh, it's going so well. All right, let's chat with Jeremy Conn. It is a Monday after all, so we will do that. He is, of course, our friend from the Big Bad Morning Show on 105.7 The Fan. He is Jeremy Conn. And he is with us now here on GCR. What's going on, pal? How are you?
I'm good, man. Sorry, I got held up at the doctor's office.
What's going on? Did you
two
have
fingers inside me?
I was going to say, what'd you have to have removed? I mean, like, did you get an eraser up there, or what?
No, I just had to get the 2 fingers taken out of me. I met a really nice guy in the waiting room.
Ooh,
so it worked out well. Yeah.
Seems nice. Was this the first time? Was this the first time you've done that, or?
No, I didn't actually have that done. I was just kidding.
Okay.
This was more of a this was a blood test. We were just going over how bad my news is about my cholesterol, which everything's got to change.
Ooh, not great. Not great. By the way,
it wasn't. It's just a little elevated. It wasn't.
How do you handle that when you know that someone's talking down to you and you're just like, look, man, I know, okay. It's like when the dentist tells me I should floss more. I'm like, yeah, trust me, I'm aware. I should probably floss more. I got the old water pick. I'm doing a better job. I understand. I don't floss every time I brush.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
I
right?
mean, you have people telling you this all the time, like when your wife says, hey, honey, why don't you wipe better? And I'm like, will you leave me alone? Like, I'm doing as good a job as I can.
You decided you wanted to go visit there. That wasn't my choice. How would you have ever known? Oh man, no, it's very uncomfortable for me. I remember. Oh man, this will get dark for a second. I remember being a child and going to my pediatrician, and the first time my pediatrician ever said, like, Glenn, you understand that you have a little bit more breast tissue than the average boy has. And I was just like, yeah, what of it? like, what do you want to say back here?
I'm glad your doctor was more professional, because mine said you have too much titty, and I didn't know what that meant, but now I do. So
there's no such thing. What is he talking about? There's no such thing as too much titty. It's just always they're like we got to deal with your. By the way, the last time I went, so this is a straight shoot. This is how pathetic I am. I did not have a doctor, because I'm like most dudes, right? I'm like, if there's something wrong with me, I'll know. You know what I mean? Like, I'll deal with it that way. It's a terrible thing. And when Cal Ripken announced he had cancer and said, guys, you should go get checked out, much like when I was 10 years old and Cal Ripken said it's important for you to drink milk and eat breakfast every day, and I just did it because I did anything that Cal Ripken told me to do, even still at nearly 40 years old, I said, well, if Cal Ripken says it's time for me to go to a doctor, I guess I better go find a doctor. So I did, and I go in, and I'm talking to the doctor about how I was a big fatty for a while, but I got my life together, and everything's good. And he's sitting there like, yeah, man, you look great. Tests are all coming back great. Like I'm really happy with where you are. You got nothing to worry about. And then he hands me a sheet of paper as I'm leaving with like a recap, and the first thing is, you're overweight. I'm like, what happened to all that? What happened to all that? I'm great stuff. What the hell? What kind of passive-aggressive nonsense is this?
You can't call me a fatty to my face.
Right. You can't just say, dude, you're still a fatty. Like, you might be not as fat as you were, but you still have, like you probably eat a bit too much cheese during the week.
Yeah. That's kind of the harsh reality for like heavier set people, and you end up losing weight. So you want to wear clothes that you never wore before, but to be honest, they still don't fit as well as the bag you're putting.
Nope. There's still by the way, the one that's driving me nuts is every time I look at a picture and I'm like, you can see my love handles in every picture. Like in every picture I take, it is incredibly obvious that no matter how much I have gotten in shape, the love handles still protrude. It's like they're screaming at you. Like, hi, we're still here. We've gone nowhere, you big dumb idiots.
Well, yeah, and that's true too. Like when you start looking at, you start evaluating yourself, and you look at all the things you don't like about yourself, but it is weird when you hear it from someone else. You ever have a friend that's just so honest? They're like, "Oh man, what's wrong with your teeth?" You're like, "What? What are you talking about? Is there's something wrong with them?" Like no, it's just a different shade of yellow. It's not the butter yellow.
I've been doing whitening recently, right? Like I've been doing the bleaching thing, and I swear to God, every time I go in,
on your beehole?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I didn't know.
Well, that's how she knew that I haven't been wiping nearly as well. So
I'm glad we haven't even talked.
I know, right? Why would we? What the hell are we gonna talk about? So I'm in there recently. And the dentist says to me, dude, like you're killing it, man. You're doing an incredible job. And he's like, has anybody noticed? And I was like, nope. Like he's like, nobody said anything. I'm like, nope, not at all. It's like, oh, dude, you're doing a great job. I'm like, I'm starting to think I'm not doing that great of a job. No one said anything. But you know what?
I think that might be the one time though where like, hey man, is your teeth white? Or have you been whitening your teeth? And someone goes, no. Oh, well, they used to
it's
be
like,
really.
It's like the pregnant thing, right? Like you can't say it. Like you want to. Are you pregnant? You know, you look great. You look so happy. Yeah. Anything going on in your life that you want to talk about?
Exactly.
All right. Well, this is fun. We'll talk to you next month.
Cool.
Hey, I'm doing your show next. By the way, this is where I am in my radio career. I'm 40 years old, and I signed up to work on Thanksgiving morning. That's how well things have gone for me. By the way, I'm doing Thanksgiving morning. I'm planning on spending the first hour of the show talking about what is the most appropriate time for the first beer on Thanksgiving. So you tell me. Because to me, and I don't drink anymore, although you and I are going to I got to talk to you. Oh, damn it. I'm still behind on that. You and I got to do something next week.
Yeah. Is it next week already?
It really is. It's unbelievable. And great planning on my part. I got to work. I got to get on that. I am truly a believer that Thanksgiving, when you're a drinking person, is the ultimate drinking. Like if there's ever been a day for shower beers, Thanksgiving is the day for a shower beer, right? Like what what are we doing? What is the appropriate time for the first beer of Thanksgiving?
I mean, probably around that first football game, or maybe if you go out and you play a little football in the morning, you crack one afterwards.
I 1,000% agree. If you're playing a turkey bowl on Thanksgiving, then it's appropriate to. How do you feel about shower beers in general?
Well, I would never be a shower beer kind of guy. Like if I'm being brutally honest, like it's not. I drink it like I'm more of a social drinker, and I don't socially shower. So it's
well, by the way,
that's the problem anymore.
You ready? You ready to change that or what?
Whoops! did I just throw out a lifeline? Yeah. So I would say I'm not typically your shower beer guy, but I did go out yesterday, and it was my first time having drinks in a long time. And they absolutely annihilated me, because as soon as I showed up, they gave me what I would call like a to-go, like the to-go cups of like coleslaw. If you were taking a platter home and it would be in like a little container, that's what they filled up with Jameson for me as my first shot.
God.
So it was more like 4 of those, like 4 regular shots, and then all of a sudden it was Rumpelmans and bombs, and then Ed shows up, and apparently, I don't remember seeing Ed. I told him I loved him.
Aww.
And then he left, and then I proceeded to tell him the same 4 stories this morning that I told him yesterday.
Well, they're probably good stories, though. They're probably good. Boy, I would have. I'm so glad you didn't invite me. I would have hated that. That would have been really awful.
What? Well, I didn't know when you were coming back from vacation. Didn't you go on vacation?
Yeah, I was back last week. It's okay. Don't. It's fine. I'm honest to God, I don't care. I need you to know I don't care. I spent my day hiking with my sons yesterday. That's the life that I live these days. That's what it's all about for me. And I'm actually happy that I did. It was lovely.
That sounds awful to me.
No, it was lovely. It was
hiking.
lovely.
My wife used to take my kids hiking all the time.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't enjoy hiking at all?
No.
Okay, I don't enjoy running. Running sucks. Running's the worst thing that ever happened.
I hate running too.
Right. I hate running. But even when I was a fat ass, I liked hiking, because it wasn't like you were doing something, but it didn't require you to really push all that much. It was just walking uphill.
Can I tell you what I don't like about it is that the first part of going and walking somewhere and then realizing, hey, that was really cool. Now I got to take the same stupid ass route back to my car.
Okay.
And then walk back down and see everything I just saw.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I hear you.
I
hear you. I don't know. It's fun. And the kids like it. So, yeah, you know what, man? Yeah. I'm going to keep doing it. I like hiking. All right, fine. Let's talk a little sports, I guess.
I'm not anti-hiking. It's just not for me.
This is a good tweet. Wait till you see the tweet that John Proctor just sent us. It's pretty good. It's by the way, I don't know why you wouldn't be a shower beer man. That part, I understand the non-social thing, but I feel like when you know that the day that this was what always the play was. When you know the day that you're about to have socially, to set the tone with a shower beer was always the play for me. Like, I'm beginning the day. I know what day I'm about to have. Let me begin the celebration with a nice shower beer.
Yeah, I've never had one, I don't think. I'm trying to think if I've ever gotten up and said, hey, I'm going to have a beer in the shower.
What time do you shower now? Like 2:30 in the morning? Like what time are you taking showers before you got to be at work at 4 or whatever you got to do?
Yeah, well, I mean, usually like 4:30 or so, and then on top of it, and I shower twice a day. I'm one of those weird. Like I'm weird. I have to shower or bathe twice a day. Always.
Yeah, that I guess I do too, though. Now that I think about it, because I go to the gym. Although never mind. I take that back. I'd like to, if I'm going somewhere afterwards, I shower after the gym. If I'm just going home, I'm like, my kids can deal with my stank. Like I made them. They can deal with the fact that I smell, man.
I just don't like that feeling. If I feel dirty, like I might be a little OCD in that. Yeah,
I get it. It's just if I'm going home, I don't care. If I'm going home, whatever. My wife's stuck with me. Like, she can deal with it. This life is going on. All right, you want to talk about what do you even want to talk about with sport? I don't care. Why is it that wide receivers aren't allowed to be MVP? Why is it that this morning I wake up and people are talking about Kirk Cousins as being MVP and nobody says, hey, maybe the best player on the team should be allowed to be in the MVP conversation? Maybe the guy that won the game yesterday should be allowed to be in the MVP conversation?
Why? Because the V in MVP is the dumbest thing ever. It's something that we can't figure out what's the right mix. Like if I said, hey, who's the most outstanding player. You can give me all these reasons why this guy has this amount of numbers. But when you say value, it's like, well, how do we determine it? What's valuable? And for whatever reason, we all know quarterbacks are the most valuable player on the field almost every single time, right? There's more money given to them. They get all the blame. They get all the love, all the credit. And then now it comes to a situation where we just had a wide receiver have the greatest statistical year any wide receiver's ever had last year, and he didn't even sniff the MVP. So, yes, it's an award that they'll never win moving forward.
It's insane. I mean, I said the same thing the first year Stephon Diggs was in Buffalo. I'm like, I know what the Bills looked like before Stephon Diggs got here. I watched. They were terrible. And then he got here, and I'm not saying that Josh Allen didn't also get better, but, like, he completely single-handedly changed the course of a franchise's history, and we're not even allowed to talk about it in the conversation of MVP. Like, it's so how can anybody look at the Vikings and not immediately see that one guy is more valuable than the other from watching that football game, and yet that guy's not allowed to be in the equation? We're not like, if I say it, I'm an idiot for bringing up the idea that maybe Justin Jefferson should be a nominee or a consideration for MVP of the NFL.
I think he should be up for MVP just for wearing those Spy Kids glasses.
I don't disagree with that. That's remarkable.
Pretty impressive.
That's really.
I mean, he's so fantastic. And before I was the number one fan club in the Jamar Chase fan club, I was the number one fan of Justin Jefferson, and I screamed about him for. Like, why didn't the Eagles take him? What are you guys doing? You took Jalen Reagor. You guys stupid. I mean, it's just like I don't get what some of these teams are doing when you're evaluating wide receiver talent. We had two of the greatest come from the same team, and I can make a case that those guys could be 1 and 2 in the league. And I'm here. I'm listening to you. Cooper Kupp had the greatest season of all time last year.
Yep.
We've got DeAndre Hopkins back now. He looks great. Devontae Adams. You mentioned Diggs. We could sit here and go on and on and on with great receivers, but these guys totally changed franchises, and they can't even sniff an MVP, which is so absurd, man. It drives me nuts.
It's insanity. I'll never understand why it is that we've just decided that this is an award that only quarterbacks can win. Like that, it's just. Sorry. It speaks into, obviously, I think my frustration. I think the two got tied in when I was talking about it earlier. Like, my frustration with how the Ravens have treated the wide receiver position is tied into the insanity of how we discuss the wide receiver position. Like, we still have mouth breathers that say that the quarterback should make the wide receivers better when we know overwhelmingly it's the exact opposite of that. Like, my God, look how we thought that Justin Herbert was the greatest quarterback that ever played, and then he lost his wide receivers. We thought that Tua Tagovailoa was a guy, and then he got the greatest duo of wide receivers. How do we not understand when we say valuable? I can make the argument that wide receiver is more valuable than quarterback.
Yeah, and then we've had people too that go, well, the Ravens don't need a number one receiver because they're run first, which to me is just wholly inaccurate. Because like if you're a run first team and you have a number one receiver on the outside, that means they have to choose. Am I doubling the receiver or am I stacking the box?
No doubt.
You cannot do both.
What do you do?
You can't do both.
What do you do at that point? It's you understand that running teams throw the ball sometimes too. When people say that, like, well, they're just a running team. Like, they're still going to throw the ball 25 times, right? Like it's
and you like when you look at the catch that Justin Jefferson made yesterday, which is just absurd. That should have been an interception. And everybody screams that Kirk Cousins should be in the MVP consideration, unless he's going to play any primetime games. I mean, he's
obviously
wonderful at 1 o'clock, but in primetime games, he sucks. But the funny thing is, like, people will say that and not even acknowledge the guy that made one of the most amazing catches we'll see this year. So, I don't know, man. It's just, it does boggle the mind. Like, why couldn't a tight end win? Why can't a defensive end win?
I mean, if they're that good, if they're that valuable, and I don't know how anybody's watched the Vikings and thought that Justin Jefferson wasn't that guy. With no offense to Kirk, I'm not saying that Kirk Cousins, to your point, 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins might be the greatest quarterback in the history of football. But Kirk Cousins has been good. Justin Jefferson has been otherworldly, has been insane.
Well, and it's like my biggest gripe, too, with the Heisman, because I've said for years the Heisman usually goes to a really good player on a really good team.
Right.
That it doesn't always go to the best player in college football because, his team may have lost 2 games. Well, did he do everything he possibly could? Like, did he play his ass off? What were his numbers? Those are the only things we have to go by when we're judging these players. But people love to throw wins in there, which that's part of the reason. But, like, you can only judge an individual on what he did in the team sport. I don't know. it's such a weird thing, and I've always hated that flex of, oh, it's got to be a guy from a winning team. And like we were talking this year about the whole Ohtani versus Judge debate. At least in baseball, pitchers have won the, they've won the MVP. We've seen relief pitchers do it. Hell, we've seen every position. But for whatever reason in football, it's always got to come down to the quarterback.
That's fact. I don't know why. I'll never understand it. It will be here for forever, and I'll be screaming into a void, or you and I will be screaming into a void.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? I don't even know what you got. This is the bye week thing, man. Is like
So I saw Black Panther this weekend. Did you see it?
I don't want to talk about it. We didn't have anybody to watch the kids on Saturday night, so we have not seen it. I got to wait till next weekend to see it.
Well, my dad used to say, you got a closet, you got a babysitter.
That's true.
To let you know.
That's great.
That's what my dad used to say and do.
And look at how you turned out.
Wonderful.
God. I've overwhelmingly positive is the reviews that I've seen.
Yeah, I thought it was well done. It's really good. I don't. Once you see it, there's something I want to talk about because it's something I hate that Marvel's kind of done here recently. And if I'm not mistaken, for anybody that's going to see it, there's only the one post-credit scene that really starts before the credits really get going.
Oh,
so
okay. All right.
If I'm not mistaken, because like when I was reading it online, I'm like, oh, so there's only this one thing. So I watched that and then we left.
Okay.
But
Yep.
But yeah, it was entertaining, and they did a nice job, like tribute to like Chadwick, and I thought the whole story they built around it was really well done.
Is anybody a jerk if they talk to me about it? Like, am I the a-hole here? Like, because I didn't see it in the first week. Like, if somebody talks to me about it this week, are they in the clear because I had my opportunity and I failed?
No, I don't think people should be bringing up spoilers for a long period of time, especially if you know somebody hasn't seen it.
That's tough to me, man, because I feel like something like this, there's got to be an amount of time where, like, we say, dude, you had your opportunity. If you haven't yet, what are we doing here?
Yeah, but I think you still got to give it a few weeks before you start talking. Like, people would love to go on social media and post the ending. The shows are like, oh my God, I can't believe they just killed this person. I'm seeing memes from the House of the Dragon, the ending of the last episode. I'm like, good God, man, let it breathe a little bit. Some people are going to power watch it at the very end, but you know, everybody's got to be first to tell you what happened.
Did you watch Welcome to Wrexham, by the way?
Well, no, I haven't. Is it good?
I didn't. It wasn't something that interested me, but enough people told me like you need to spend time with it, and it's it's what it is. Like I'm never gonna care about shows like that the way that I care about scripted shows, but it really is a damn good time, man. Like it's a fun show, and those two guys are so goddamn charming. Like
they're so likable.
Oh, they're so insanely likable that it just keeps you. I think the story of the town is more compelling, but what they add in their charm and their humor and their wit, like you just want to. Like, how could I possibly be more in love with Ryan Reynolds? You know what I mean? Like, how is it? He's the most lovable human being I've come across in my life. Damn it, man! Oh, it drives me.
I just want to pick him up and put him in my pocket.
That's what I'm saying.
Hold on to him forever.
God,
yeah.
I'm so jealous of his wife.
How good is Deadpool 3 going to be?
Oh, it's of course. Wait, did they ever figure out what's going on with him and T.J. Miller? Like, are they? Remember, like T.J. Miller like utterly trashed him. Like, and then
I don't know if so he wasn't supposed to be in the next one, right?
I think that's the story, and now I don't like. I feel like there was an update, like they figured out they could make it work or something like that. I don't know. It was a very weird story where T.J. Miller was just like going after Ryan Reynolds and it's like the most beloved human on the face of the planet. We're like, dude. Even if you're right, I hate you. Like, this is the thing. Yeah. I've decided I love this guy, so forget it. Your points are irrelevant.
We had T.J. Miller in town. He performed at Magooby's, and he came into our show and hung out, and he kind of did like almost like a vaudeville act a little bit. There was some juggling with oranges and taking a bite out of them, like apples. And I mean, he did all kinds of weird stuff. He's actually a performer. I thought he was fairly funny with some of his comedy. But there was a lot of like, I mean, look, he just died, but he wasn't quite Gallagher. But there was a lot of like moments like that where it's like, hey, let me show you this, and then what he does is fun.
All right,
instead of actually a joke.
Give me in studio. Give me your best, or you know what? Just of comedians, actors, studio, over the phone, whatever. Your best and your worst.
Steve-O is probably my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, he's unbelievable.
He was just fun. He brought his dog in. He hung out and talked to us afterwards. I thought Craig. Daryl from the All.
Yeah, Craig Robinson's unbelievable. Oh, my
Craig Robinson
God,
told me, he said anytime he comes to Baltimore, if I want to open up for him, just to shoot him a message, and he'd let me open up for him.
God, man.
One of the coolest guys, and we talked about all kinds of stuff. Worst in studio? I mean, I have a couple that where, like, Ric Flair was terrible when he came in and we interviewed him, and then we got off the air, and he was the most fun human being you could ever want to be around.
Really?
Yeah. And so it wasn't disappointing, but I'm like, man, we're on TV and radio, and he's not being Ric Flair. He's just kind of answering questions like a normal interview where you thought he'd tell some great stories.
Oh, gross.
And Jake the Snake put me in a DDT and told me I had to eat his ass. I didn't think that was fair.
Okay, but how was it eating his ass?
I didn't know we were going to go down this road.
How was his wiping?
I mean, you're not going to not eat Jake the Snake's ass if he asks you. No, he put me in a DDT and said, "I'm not letting you go until you lick." And I'm like, God bless it.
I think it was 2008. we had Craig Robinson in studio in Phoenix when I was out there, and I don't know why. I asked him if he would. This is so hack. I just said, "Dude, would you say the thing?" And he looked at me. He's like, "What thing?" And I realized that I was an idiot. And all of my friends were obsessed with the line in, was it Knocked Up? Where he's like, I can't be having a bunch of old pregnant bitches running around up in here. Like, we were all obsessed with it. Like, we would say it to each other all the time. But it was just us. Like, nobody else was obsessed with that line the way that we were. And because I was an idiot, I was 25. I was wildly unqualified to be doing the job I was doing. I sat there with Craig Robinson like, dude, would you say the thing? And he just looked at me like, what thing? What are you talking about?
Oh.
Like, what do you mean the thing?
He was super cool, man.
Oh, he was great. He was great, yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, I was a dope. I'm like, right. I had a terrible Tracy Morgan. Like, I brought up the story that, like, the Tracy Jordan character was written in a way to allow it to be Tracy Morgan, which was a story that, was kind of out there, and he essentially called me a racist. And I said,
wow.
I don't think we're going to be able to go much further with this. I think this
you
is
were racist.
I think that this is, and it wasn't funny. It wasn't a joke. Like, it got really awkward. I mean, really uncomfortable really quickly. And I just said,
well, I can't mention the actor's name, but there was an actor that was going around doing, I guess you'd say, a one-man show, some stand-up comedy. And he came to the station, was like, totally like out of it. Like, looked like he was just, he slept an hour and a half.
Okay.
And didn't look like he wanted to be there. The interview ended up being cool, but that's because he went into the bathroom and snorted coke off of our bathroom sink.
Yeah. That's how you know it's good. That's how you know it's good.
Yeah.
My one seed for sure, Ron Jeremy. I could talk to Ron Jeremy. Oh, no, I think he's a creep. I think we found out he's a piece of crap now. But
dude,
he
was a piece of crap.
Oh, damn it. I think all of my best interviews were with garbage humans. Ron Jeremy was a great interview. Legendarily, Bill Cosby did an hour with me. An hour. Gave me his phone number, said call anytime. And then it turns out we didn't use that.
Man, that sucks.
Yeah, it really sucked.
Let me tell you about the Spanish Fly.
God.
Yeah, so.
All right, what's coming up on the Big Bag Morning Show this week?
Well, Rob's back tomorrow, so all three of us will be in there all week long. Shenanigans leading into two very winnable games, the next two for the Ravens, where, as I said, if they got through that portion of the schedule, they could start stacking these W's. Just need to see Cincinnati take a couple L's, and I think this could be smooth sailing to a home playoff game for the Ravens, but we shall see. So we'll be talking a lot about that and the Orioles offseason.
Picks every day at PressBoxOnline.com. Jeremy Conn 1057 on Twitter. Love you, buddy. I promise I'll be in touch. We'll make some plans for next week, all right?
Sounds good, man.
It's Jeremy Conn 1057 The Fan. I don't know what we did there, but it was fun. We'll come back in. We'll dish out our pats on the ass of the first half of the Ravens season. That's next. Glenn Clark Radio. Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code Neighborhood Tailgate. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, New Maryland basketball coach Kevin Willard sits down with Stan Charles and Glenn Clark to discuss the situation he inherited in College Park and how he plans to get the program turned around. Also, inside, we introduce you to men's and women's college basketball players from all of the teams in the area. And Bo Smoka profiles Ravens receiver Devin Duvernay. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Another Orioles season is in the books, and the Bat-Around was there every step of the way as the Birds posted their first winning season in 6 years. And after promoting 2 #1 overall prospects in Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, Mike Elias has said it's liftoff from here. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, and along with my co-host Zach Goodman, we'll be here every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon all off season, discussing every signing, trade, and waiver claim as we navigate the cold winter months that lead to spring training. You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or listen live at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. And if you miss a show, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. So tune into the Bat-Around with Paul Valley and Zach Goodman every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows that the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
If you can't listen or watch live, you can subscribe to the show via Spotify, Amazon, or Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review while you're there. Or, if lying isn't your thing, we'll take a 3.5-star review too.
All right. Today's show also brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Best place to watch and bet. Oh, how'd your UFC? I don't remember what your bet was.
Not good.
I don't even remember how the fight ended.
So I picked.
You had
that's right. I picked both fights. I got both of my UFC picks wrong that I shared on the show.
Well, yeah, but the one we did for
Izzy got knocked out in the 5th round.
Right.
Yes,
I did see that.
Yes, very disappointing.
Yeah,
similar to the kind of the Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards a couple weeks ago, where he was cruising to a decision, just as I said, and then he gets freaking knocked out.
Well, got bad news. You got to put the hat back on.
Yeah.
I only went 1 for 2 this week because the freaking Lions, man, that was stunning. But I did. I hit that Notre Dame over in the first half, which is good because they didn't score any more points the rest of the way. I was like, the only good thing about the being down 35-13 is that I hit that Notre Dame over of 27.5 or whatever it was, and then they stopped scoring. So I still got it. I still got that over on Notre Dame.
Good job.
Yeah, I'll take that one. All right.
I think I went 0 for 4 on my gratuitous grouping.
Ooh,
yeah,
boy.
Yes.
That is rough scene.
Yeah.
Rough scene.
Yep.
All right, the best place to watch and bet on every sporting event is the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Great week of football on tap. World Cup starts next Sunday. And you're going to be able, even if the sportsbook is not open yet, and they're going to be doing some things with hours for the World Cup, but even if the sportsbook is not open for those early morning matches, you will still be able to use the self-service kiosks in the FanDuel Sportsbook, and they will make sure they have the games on the 100-foot media wall for you to hang out, watch, and bet on the World Cup in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. All right, let's get into Pats on the Ass for the first half of the season. 5 Ravens, again, rank them from 5 to 1. Same thing as always, 2 offensive players, 2 defensive players. I will begin my number 5. Justin Madubuike is my number 5. And like I was struggling. It's funny because I was struggling with my second defensive player for the list. And it's not because I didn't think there weren't good candidates, because I thought they were all kind of like Marlon Humphrey's been really good for a certain number of games. Marcus Williams was great, but only played in a few games. Like Patrick Queen has clearly come on in the last few weeks, big time. Roquan Smith for one game was magical, but there just wasn't the consistency there that I was looking for another candidate. And I just think that Madubuike has been consistently good for 9 games. Maybe not world-changing. I know there's this thing going on Ravens Twitter right now where like people use Aaron Donald's name in the same sentence as Justin Madubuike, and it's become shtick in a certain way. Like, how can I figure out a way to put them in the... People get very mad if you say his style of play reminds me of Aaron Donald, then you get back, what are you saying? Nobody's Aaron Donald. Like, I wasn't saying that. I was only saying his style of play reminds me of Aaron Donald. There's become this like Aaron Donald, Justin Madubuike meme that's been going on Ravens Twitter for a few weeks. I think Justin Madubuike has been really good. I think he's been really good for the totality of the 9 games. So in struggling to come up with a second defensive candidate for this list, I ultimately decided to go with him just because of the consistency. So Justin Madubuike is my number 5.
My 2 defensive players I went with I thought were no-brainers. They're higher up on the list. My number 5 was Justin Tucker. Fine
with it.
He is we were talking about the game changers on this team. I mean, he's a kicker, but he is the best. And you never worry when he comes out onto the field. And he's won us games. He'll probably continue to do that. And Justin Tucker, number 5.
My number 4 is Ronnie Stanley. A lot to do with what our expectation level was, and as it turns out, he's been better. He's been just awesome since he came back on the field. He has been Ronnie Stanley, which I think a lot of us, we're not that far removed from thinking that maybe Ronnie Stanley might never play again, and certainly not being convinced that he could ever be Ronnie Stanley again. Well, dude, he's Ronnie Stanley again. Like, he's that good. Ronnie Stanley's my number 4.
That's a good one. I did not have Stanley on mine, but, there's definitely a good argument for him. I had Mark Andrews as my number 4. He's one of the top tight ends in the league. The defenses have to know where he is at all times on the field, and he is one of those difference makers that we talk about. We have been able to win without him on the field, which is great, but I think when they're an exponentially better team when he is on the field. So Mark Andrews is my number 4 for the first half.
He's my number 3. He's Mark Andrews. I don't know what else there is to say. He's Mark Andrews. He's my number 3.
My number 3, Chuck Clark. I went with Chuck Clark as my second defensive player. He's been
somebody I considered. It's a good option.
He's been one of the top tacklers on the team. He's a leader on the field. He wears the green dot. He stepped up while Marcus Williams is out. And then even hearing what Ty said a couple weeks ago about him.
Yeah, it's pretty emotional.
So
yep.
Chuck Clark, my number 3.
My number 2 is Lamar. Much like he was number 2 on my list of slaps, he's number 2 on my list of pats. He's for the most part, he's been outstanding. There have been moments, unfortunately, where he hasn't been outstanding, and that was the reason why he made the other list. But for the most part, he's been outstanding. He's my number 2.
My number 2 was Justin Houston. I had Justin Houston as my number 2, and so my number 1 was Lamar Jackson. I had Lamar as my 1.
And Justin Houston is my number 1, just because it's purely insane. It's absolutely insane what's going on with Justin Houston this season. All right, continue to get me yours. We'll share them throughout the day at Glenn Clark Radio. And again, we'll get these up at glennclarkradio.com here momentarily. Proctor says...
number 5.
Oh, I was looking at his list. I was looking at something he sent me.
Oh, okay.
Spoilers should be kept internal as long as possible, given that we're still dealing with COVID. And I'd say 2 to 3 weeks after streaming release. Jesus Christ.
People are going to forget about the movie.
What? I
said 2 to 3 weeks after
I feel like for these types, I think it depends on if it's a movie or it's show that is widely is what I'm trying to say, widely
anticipated
and watched. Like, dude, if you're waiting a month to see Black Panther, you don't care all that much. You just don't. I gotta know, man. Like, you're just... You can take the spoilers at that point if you're waiting a month. I'd still, the number of weeks, I'm not sure. And I also think it's different for like movies or shows that don't have the same amount of buzz that maybe it's more organic. Like some people went out and saw it was really good. People started discussing it. Like you might need to wait a little while for something like that. Like I'll give you an example, a Squid Game, when that was a thing. Nobody was anticipating a Squid Game. Nobody knew that it was coming. Nobody knew that it was a thing. You needed to wait much longer on that because there was far more of a, hey, people are just figuring out what this thing is. But when the last season of Ozark came out, everybody knew. Everybody on the planet was aware the last season of Ozark was dropping. Everybody was talking about it. So if you were a month gone from that and you hadn't watched Ozark, it's because you just didn't care all that much. I'll get around to it when I get around to it. You were aware. You knew it was out there. It just wasn't a priority for you. So you can't be that crushed if someone accidentally or someone's, you happen to be tweeting and someone sends out a spoiler. Like you clearly don't care that much. That's the way that I feel about it with spoilers. Like I don't think it's the weekend. I do think that Jeremy's right. You got to wait a little bit longer. But if it's something that everybody's anticipating, that everybody's been thinking about for a long time, and we get a few weeks in and you haven't seen it, we know the answer. You don't care. So if you get spoiled, that's on you. You don't care. If you cared more, you would have gone out and seen it. That's my take.
It's fair.
He says, it takes zero effort not to post S online or just ask, have you seen it yet? In conversation, okay, I can see where it's different. Like in conversation, saying, well, have you watched it yet? But like tweeting out, like, I'd like to talk about the Ozark finale, something like that. Like, come on, man. Or again, a couple weeks later, trying to make a joke that references a spoiler in a show or in a movie. It's on you. You did. Somebody did this to me recently. Somebody did this to me once where I made a joke about how something ended. They're like, cool, it's not like I wasn't planning on watching it. I'm like, bro, that movie came out 10 years ago. I'm not spoiling anything. Jesus. Stand by. Come back in. We'll get a tidbit to wrap it up. It's Glenn Clark Radio. The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
Glory Days Grill's Oktoberfest menu is now running. It's one of their most popular seasonal menus all year. It features the chicken schnitzel, the Oktoberfest brewer's platter, the brewer's sausage sandwich, the Bavarian burger with a pretzel bun, the cheddar ale soup, the slam dunk pretzels, and the apple cobbler. All of these meals pair well with Oktoberfest beers and Angry Orchard on draft. Dine in or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and pick up your favorites to take home. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Looking for a simple holiday meal? Try Chick-fil-A catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details.
Tune in to Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday at 11:40 a.m. And if you really have nothing better to do, keep listening to this show, too.
Today's show also brought to you by the print issue of Press Box, which is available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box, or read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. That's Kevin Willard on the cover. He sat down with Stan the Fan Charles and I for a great conversation. Really enjoyed our sit-down with Kevin Willard about the job that he took over as the new head coach at the University of Maryland. Also, you can meet Division I men's and women's players from throughout the state inside this new print issue of Press Box, which is available right now. Tidbit is brought to you today by, PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Online sports betting just days away from starting here in the state of Maryland. PressBox is your source for the best offers and sign-up incentives. Starting right now, you can get $300 worth of pre-registration credit plus other incentives by going to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. That's PressBoxOnline.com/offers right now for $300 and more in pre-registration bonus credits. PressBoxOnline.com/offers.
All right, Christian Watson had 3 receiving touchdowns yesterday against the Dallas Cowboys. And this is irrelevant, but he is the second rookie to ever have 3 receiving touchdowns against the Cowboys.
Really?
All time, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of someone tweeted that out, but I was like, yeah, I'll share. But it inspired my real tidbit, which is he became the 6th receiver. Randy Moss was the other one to score 3 touchdowns against the Cowboys, by the way, as a rookie.
How about that?
But it inspired my actual tidbit question, which is Christian Watson became the 6th rookie wide receiver to score 3 touchdowns, receiving touchdowns in a game in the past 21 years. Can you name the other 5 that have scored 3 receiving touchdowns in a game as a rookie?
Didn't Torrey have a 3-touchdown game against the Rams?
You would be correct. It was against the Rams on September 25th. 2011.
If I remember correctly, he was kind of struggling the first couple weeks of the season, and there were some people like, and then he just came to life. That's the problem. I mean, I remember that one because I remember that one. Like I was there,
So the rest of them are from that point to now, between now and that point. Yeah. So there's 4 more between.
Jamar Chase,
last season, January 2nd. It's actually earlier this year, January 2nd, 2022, against the Kansas City Chiefs, 3 touchdowns.
Certainly don't remember it. Justin Jefferson
did not have 3 touchdowns.
That scrub, he sucks. Oh, sorry. Proctor is guessing, literally guessed Torrey, and then he guessed Jamar Chase.
Good job, Proctor.
Sorry, John. Sorry, buddy. Since that point. Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley is correct. In 2018 against the Saints, which the Saints have let up 3 players have actually done that to the Saints.
Damn.
Which is more than the Cowboys.
Mike Evans?
Mike Evans did not have 3 touchdowns as a rookie in a game.
I was thinking, let's stay in the NFC South if the Saints are the ones letting them all up, but I guess that's not it.
Yeah, the other 2, so...
DeAndre Hopkins.
2. Not DeAndre Hopkins.
Proctor wants a Keenan Allen guess in there.
Keenan Allen is not on the list.
There's 2 more?
There are 2 more.
All right, we got it.
Both between 2014 and now.
Proctor says Odell Beckham.
Odell Beckham in 2014, December.
So it's just all
Washington.
LSU guys, is what you're saying. It's nothing LSU and Maryland.
The last
as everybody knows, the 2 true wide receiver U's, LSU and Maryland.
The last guy is not LSU.
Is he Maryland?
He is not Maryland.
Ah. Not LSU, not Maryland. And when was it?
It was 2020. So 2020 rookie receiver.
So last year was Jamar Chase. So the 2020 rookie receivers would have been, Terry McLaurin?
Not Terry McLaurin.
DK Metcalf?
Not DK Metcalf. Was DK was 2019.
He's 2019?
Yeah. But DK not on the list.
And I guess wasn't DK the same year as Terry McLaurin? So I'm doing because they were the same year as.
Who else was in the 2020 rookie class?
This was Hollywood. The 2020 rookie receivers were
Justin Jefferson.
Oh, right. Okay, hang on a second.
Okay.
Hang on. Justin Jefferson.
You want another hint or not?
No, would that have been Jerry Jeudy?
Not Jerry Jeudy.
But
I think right class, but not.
CeeDee Lamb?
Not CeeDee Lamb. God. He was, well, you want me to tell you what round he was drafted in?
No.
Okay.
Shut up. Who else is in that class? T. Higgins?
Not T. Higgins.
I don't know.
Notre Dame wide receiver. Second round draft pick.
Oh, Chase Claypool?
Chase Claypool had 4 total. 3 of them were receiving touchdowns against the Eagles in October of 2020.
I don't remember that at all.
You don't remember when he went nuclear?
Don't remember it. Don't at all.
Tyreek Hill also had 3 total touchdowns, but not all 3 were receiving in 2016. Tavon Austin, his rookie year with the Rams in 2013, had 2 receiving touchdowns and a return touchdown for 3 total.
All right. Very good. Tubular is brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Again, Ravens back at home this Sunday, and you get the opportunity to come experience some cooking from the Ginsu Kamado Grill. GinsuGrills.com is always the website for you to get your order in. You can save $100 when you use the code TAILGATE, but stop by the Game Day Firehouse. The Firefighters Union Hall, 1202 Ridgely Street, just west of the stadium, this Sunday, and sample some Ginsu Kamado Grill cooking and enter to win your own and $500 worth of grilling meats. Here's what's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise. Week 10 wraps up as the Eagles take on the Commanders. No Mannings tonight, I guess, just on ESPN at 8:15. Hoops tonight, Princeton and UMBC at 6 on Masson. Masson is airing that game with our buddy Gary Stein on the call. CoppinStateSports.com for Navy and Coppin State. Good local matchup tonight at 7. Everything else, you can go to GlennClarkRadio.com.
Towson basketball 3-0.
That's right. Big wins on the road against UMass and Penn. Nice start to the season. NBA tonight, Thunder Celtics, 7:30 on NBA TV. Of course, the Rookie of the Year announcement is at 6 on MLB Network. Do not think it will be Adley Rutschman, but, you know, I guess crazier things have happened. Who knows? I think it's only a specific group of 30 people, so if you found the right 30 people.
Maybe you can't read somebody's handwriting.
Or the right 16 people that all just happen to share the same opinion, whereas everybody else thought it was Julio. ATP Finals continue on the Tennis Channel, the USA Network for WWE Monday Night Raw tonight at 8. Some non-sports highlights?
Not a whole lot going on a Monday night. The Good Doctor, new episode of that. Episode 100.
He is a good doctor, as Kyle used to say.
Episode 100 of The Good Doctor at 10 o'clock on ABC.
What are we doing to celebrate?
I'm telling you about it.
Jeremy went to his doctor, which was weird.
Michelle Obama's going to be on Stephen Colbert. Jonathan Majors will be on James Corden.
Okay.
Bruce Springsteen's going to be on Fallon, I think, like multiple nights this week.
Yeah, I think he's doing it all week.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth will be on Kimmel. And then
so what is this Chris Hemsworth show that they're doing where he's going to, like, die or something?
It's called Limitless, and it's going to be on Disney Plus, I think, Wednesday.
All right.
And so he's just, he's doing crazy things, like jumping out of helicopters
Why
into
not?
cold, freezing water and seeing how far his limits are, I guess.
Good for Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah. Stutz is a documentary coming out on Netflix. Jonah Hill, he made a film about his therapist. His name was Stutz.
Okay.
And so it's supposed to be like kind of, a very mental health, like awareness kind of thing. He's very excited about it because it was just kind of like a passion project for him, I guess.
Yeah, but he doesn't do interviews anymore.
Jonah Hill?
Jonah Hill said he wouldn't he wasn't going to do any promotion for anything.
Okay.
Like,
well, this is the...
And he said it was related to his own mental health, and I was just like, okay.
Well, he said Stutz is his guy. He really likes him.
All right.
And then Teletubbies. They're doing a reboot.
Oh, why?
On Netflix.
Why? Although everyone I knew had the cover of the Rolling Stone that had Britney Spears holding a Teletubby. I don't know why. I don't know why that was ever a thing.
Well, it's back, baby.
We all had that one.
Teletubbies is back.
Very good. Thanks, everybody at Pressbox. All of our great... Oh, do I do that, or do I thank the guests? I know I thank the guests first, don't I? How about thanks to Jeremy Conn, thanks to Jeff Pearlman, thanks to Jonas Shaffer. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Fonte Leach will join us tomorrow. We will continue our 10th anniversary celebration. We'll do that. We might end up double dipping this week. We'll see. But we're going to do that tomorrow with Vontae Leach. And do we know about Ken yet?
No, I was going to text him after the show. Just so.
Why wouldn't we do it during the show to make sure
know.
that we could
You're
confirm?
right.
That would be all right. So there's that. Anyway.
I mean, he said he would.
Stuff
I
and
trust
things.
him. He's a reliable
yes,
guy.
but it's something we had 2.5 hours to.
You're right.
Thanks to everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Baltimore County Police Department, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Acostas Inn, Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants, Guilford Hall Brewery, Grade 8's Memorabilia, the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, Maryland Vascular Specialist, the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Don't forget the Tyus Bowser Show tomorrow night, Mother's North Grill in Timonium, brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. It's a partnership of Pressbox and Grade 8's Memorabilia. We will see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, for the Tyus Bowser Show. Hopefully we will know today who Tyus' special guest is, and if we do, we will try to share it with you, who he will be joining him at Mother's North Grill. But I would just make plans to come out and hang out tomorrow night for the Tyus Bowser Show. All right, thanks to Griffin, at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday night. Go local hoops with either Navy or Coppin State. Go UMBC. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too.